Hello everyone and welcome back to the Sodium City Town Hall. I'm your mayor Strider Stone, and today we sat down and talked with Boy Hero. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching, or if you're listening, subscribe to the podcast, as we are available on all major podcast platforms. Hello, Boy Hero. How are you today?
Hello, Strider. I am well. How are you? I don't understand why you're laughing so much. I don't see what's so funny.
Oh, from everything beforehand. Yeah, don't worry about it. I thought you were already recording.
Inside jokes.
I know. I was ready. I was ready to talk about anime for the next hour. I don't really care about anything else. Let's go.
This is my new anime podcast. Yeah. I don't know if you knew this. You asked me to do this podcast, but really, I'm starting a podcast.
That's perfectly fine. We can do two different podcasts. I'm okay with this.
Great. Yeah, this will be dual purpose.
I am Strider. I am the mayor of Sodium City. I typically play Magic the Gathering, but today I'm here to talk about anime and manga. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for taking time out of your week. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. It's good to be here.
But in all seriousness, no, thank you for reaching out and having me do this. I enjoy talking. It's part of the reason I stream.
That's good. That's good. Where can people typically find you? I know you're literally all over the place.
I am all over the place. Pretty much any social media. Just the user handle is iamboyhero. So like TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. Those are pretty much my main ones. Boy Hero on YouTube, but you could also find my most recent music on the Give Heart Records channel.
That's where I was looking at a lot of your stuff.
Oh, cool, awesome. Did you watch the videos from the EP?
I watched Fine Dining. I really like that one. I think I watched that one like 3 times because I really like the imagery behind it.
Yeah, I just recently revisited that video, and at the time I was just so caught up in doing it and like making the thing and because me and my good friend Ryan Blue, we produced it together.
Yeah, I was actually just about to ask that. Like, whose idea of the imagery was it? Was it yours? But I guess you have a co-producer.
Yeah, it was a lot of the visual like imagery and stuff like that is like Ryan's, because that's like a lot of like what he does. He typically, like, what happens is that I will give him like my lyrics and a bunch of ideas, and then he'll come up with like a narrative, like a visual narrative concept, and be like, and and most of the time I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. But revisiting that a couple of weeks ago, I was like, holy shit, like, this is like something really special.
Yeah.
And it was really fun to do, and you just didn't get to appreciate it at the time, like during making it and the release, because like I'm just one guy doing all this stuff, like, so it's a lot. But it was very nice to appreciate it.
That's always weird to me. I guess it's not weird to me because I was in a band, a couple different bands, but I was never in a band where I just kind of, I guess, played in the background, or somebody like you're the front man of the band. Do you actually have a steady like drummer, guitar player, bassist, or do you just like hire people in whatever city you're going to play, or how does that
it's like a combination of both, a little bit. Like, I have like a few friends who help me with like the recording stuff very reliably and consistently. Eric, who is in the Fine Dining video, is like my number one go-to for guitar. He is very good at taking my ideas and like elaborating on them, or like having a new perspective on a song or something like that. And he actually wrote pretty much all the music for Do You Recall off of the Recall EP. That song was something that he brought to me and was like, oh, do you want to do this? I'm like, hell yeah, I want to do this.
Nice.
So that was really cool. And then Zach, he was in the Survive the Night video and the Stay Away acoustic video. He's been producing my music for the past like 5 years, and so he's like another contributor. But yeah, and then I have Kid and Shep, who went on tour with me. Shep's a drummer, Kid's my guitar player, and also he is the frontman and one of the guitar players for a band called Good Terms. So if you guys are looking for some new music, go check out their LP that they just dropped last year, which was dropping music last year was very interesting.
Wait, how is it how is it different? Even with the panorama, I guess we could call it.
With the panorama. So it's like, it's really interesting because due to the pandemic, things like TikTok really took off. Mm-hmm. And a lot of like, so the music industry is always kind of like, since like the days of MySpace and stuff like that, it's kind of always revolved around social media platforms, like what hits, what misses. You know, they use that as a gauge to be like, what's going to be popular. And so when TikTok really blew up, a lot of things for the label and stuff like that were very centric around like the social media platforms and if it did numbers and stuff like that. And so like this whole narrative of like, oh, my label doesn't want to put out this song, so I'm going to leak it. And it's not really like leaking it. It's the label being like, yo, tease it on TikTok and try and get pre-saves for Spotify or like build hype around it. See how, like, and it's like a gauge of interest. So that has really has affected the industry a lot. And then also typically when you release new music, you either do like a release show or you're about to go on tour or something. Mm-hmm. That wasn't possible for like 2 years. And so so like usually, but like as artists and as musicians, we're writing, we're constantly wanting to do stuff, we're itchy, we can't sit still, so we just make the music and we're like, what do we do? It's like, well, we put it out and go on to the next thing, I guess. And so it just you had to just approach the whole thing different for the past 2 years.
Yeah, that is true. Man, I could go on this tangent forever. So earlier you said the label. Is this your label, the Give Heart Records? It looks like you were on this. Is this something you're signed on to, or is this something you co-own, or what?
This isn't. No, I don't co-own it. The owner is Nate from Nate Wants to Battle. He got his start doing YouTube, and then he's just he's kind of like sending the elevator down to people he knows and people who he thinks will fit the label. But awesome. I'm not signed with them, but I did sign my last EP with them. So like, which is kind of like the format of what's happening nowadays with artists and bands. They'll sign one release with the label instead of getting locked into like a X amount of records deal, kind of like how it used to be. And that's pretty much all thanks to the EDM side of music, because a lot of these DJs would do the full production at home. They don't need a label to advance the money to record it because they're doing it in their bedroom. And so they just go to labels like, hey, do you want to give me money so that we can make this a thing? And then you can get some of it. And the label goes, yeah, the song slaps, let's do it. So it's kind of like the approach I would like to take with my music.
Interesting. How long have you been making music then? Because you mentioned MySpace as well as one of the early front runners of music, which I recall because I remember a lot of people blowing up. Like one of my favorite groups back in the day was Cell Dweller, and he kind of reminds me a little bit of you in a different way. I have no idea if you know who that is, but he kind of reminds me of you, where he does like everything himself. He's a phenomenal artist, very intelligent. Does like. I'll send you some links of him later, but yeah, he does a lot of kind of the similar stuff that he does, but he like did a lot of his stuff on MySpace and kind of just grew throughout that way. But most people don't know about that stuff, but I guess maybe that's different if you're in the music industry.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's always like a certain amount when you're in the music industry, there's a certain amount of like backlogged history that you just learn of by doing it. But to answer your question about how long I've been doing it, if you want, since I've been writing music, I think I was 15 or 16 when I started like actually writing songs like that, instead of just like learning other songs. Like I had gotten to the point where I'd learn enough songs of like From First to Last, Green Day, you know, Silverstein, a bunch of other stuff, to where like, oh, I have the tool set to like swap these chords and riffs and things around to make my own songs. And so that's kind of like where it started. So I was like 15 or 16. So, but I would say like trying to do this, doing this professionally, it's been 12 years.
Oh my god.
12 years.
Wait, so what are you, late 20s now or 30s? Or is that too...
I tell everybody I'm a 405-year-old vampire.
One of those people. Okay.
Yeah. But like on the topic that I do truly believe that age is like a mindset, and also there's like a certain amount of anxiety
100%.
around growing up, I feel like. And so I feel like maybe this isn't the healthiest way to do it, but the more I can avoid that, the younger I'm going to feel and be going forward. And like one of those big things for me, especially in the music industry, is a lot of people who are my age kind of look down on like the new music that's coming out, and they're turning into like the boomers of for me,
the gatekeepers and stuff.
Yeah, like they're gatekeeping and a bunch of other stuff, and I think that's like, I feel like that just as an idea is really counterproductive to music industry, because like a high tide lifts all ships.
Yes, but at the same time, you also have to think about it in the artistic manner. I'm going way into more of like an art history kind of thing, because art is almost to the point to where you almost have to be controversial in order to not necessarily make it, but you have to push the button on some way. You have to be controversial. You have to get people to talk about you.
Yeah.
But right now it's like, it seems everything that's been, or everything that could be said has already been said a million times. So you have to change it by the way the music is done. And I think that's why people hate it, but they just hate it.
I mean, hyperpop
they
now.
hate it because it's different. It's just something that they've never heard before, or it's just weird sound experiment that they're not used to, and it hits their eardrums in a weird way. But it's been like that forever.
It's the mixes it's typically what I've noticed, that people don't like the mixes or the type of like software instruments used on like newer stuff. Because I think that's because people have grown accustomed to a certain sound over the course of their life. But one thing that the big thing for me is how the vocals are delivered. Like they can be processed any amount of ways, but I'm always looking for that aggressive emotional side of things. Like I want to feel like you're feeling something when when I'm listening to it. I want to hear the feeling in your voice, and that comes from me. Like my two main influences in my life were like the U's and MCR, and you could argue that Gerard and Bert were two of the most emotive vocalists of like the 2000s. So that's a big thing for me.
So you think really just, interesting. I'm trying to think about that. Hold on. That's a really fascinating way to look at it. So do you have to it's 'cause you're trying to build up a rapport with your audience, especially if you're like on tour in person, you're trying to build up almost like an empathetic relationship with your audience. So when you're conveying your message, you're trying to lock in some type of connection with the audience so that you can feel the echo almost. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, like you want to what I've heard from a friend of mine, that the best way to do art or any type of art is to be your most authentic self. So it means being brutally honest with yourself, with your art, with your music, with your performances and everything, because that's going to translate with the audiences. Yeah. And especially on tour, I was told that people listen with their eyes when you're on tour.
Definitely.
It's definitely like, and that is something that happened to me when I was younger, which made me want to do music, is like I listened with my eyes. I go back and I'll watch these bands that I grew up listening to, and I'm listening to their live sound, and this is before we have the production qualities that we have now. And it's just amps on stage, nothing's mixed really well, but like what they're doing and the way they're performing is just so emotive and passionate, where you can feel that watching them. And so what I've always said is like, I want to do with my music what the music I listened to did for me growing up.
Interesting. My experience was almost completely the opposite. When I was in person, I would go to concerts. the groups weren't. They were also it was poorly produced on stage. They sounded obviously nothing like they would on record, but they were also not as into the music as I thought they would be. Like, they weren't all over the place like you would expect a lot of the better, I guess, more successful bands, because usually the ones that are more into their music on stage are the ones that grab more attention and get more fans and stuff. But a lot of the ones I listened to, they were just kind of there sharing their music, and they didn't really have a connection with the audience whatsoever. Like, it was almost like they were just still in the recording studio, and it was just really weird. It was kind of
like they're focusing on the performance of the presentation of the music and not so much the full
package
experience. Because it's one thing to like, people go to like, if I wanted to just hear the music, I would just open up Spotify or put on a vinyl.
Exactly.
But when I go to a show, it's like, I want an experience. I want to watch something. I'm going there to it for an experience, not for something I can just get at home.
100%.
And that sounds kind of like rude, but at the same time, it's correct.
Yeah, it is correct. And I think people started to realize that probably mid 2000s, because that's when the quality of shows seemed to just get better.
Oh, yeah. It was about, like, I mean, when you think about it, like, we got to early 2010s, and then you're just hearing stories of XYZ person jumping off scaffoldings, and like, there's so many lawsuits and stuff because the bar just kept getting higher for like what's the next level of, like, for lack of a better term, showmanship. I wouldn't consider jumping off a scaffolding into a crowd and hurting people showmanship, or Ronnie Radke tossing a mic stand into a crowd showmanship. But like, it's visually shocking, and Ronnie Radke did that, I don't know how many years ago, and people are still talking about it to this day, which is wild.
Yeah, like everything Slipknot does was crazy.
Yeah. Like, I mean, but it's just a matter of just like switching into, like, instead of jumping off, scaffoldings, maybe invest in some like light production or something instead.
Yeah. Or be like Gwar and just jizz on people in the audience.
Gwar is disgusting.
Gwar was so sweet.
Like, I want to go to a show to like, but like, because I want to experience that, but at the same time, I don't want fake jizz and blood on me. Like, I just don't.
No, it's if you're way in the back, like at the bar, it's fine. Like, you don't get anything on you. But if you're in the front, you just wear a poncho. Like, they sell ponchos there, so you don't get anything like actually on you. But is
it true that they are all just like PhD graduates? Like, I heard that once, that they're all just like doctors. Like, they all have like high level college degrees, and they like have like chiropractic businesses and stuff like that.
I'm actually not sure. Yeah, that I don't know. I know their lead singer recently died. Well, I guess not recently. It was probably like 5 or 6 years ago.
It was like, it was a while ago.
Now they have a new one, and she fucking kills it. But
yeah, I think it's just like, I think that would be so interesting. It would be like so much of the equivalent of like these very prestigious like people having their jobs, and then they all get together and it's just dick jokes the entire time. And it was like, that would be so. I want that to be true, because I just want, like, could you imagine just like doctors and like physicians and like researchers getting together on the weekends or whatever, and just being like, yeah, what happens if we like sprayed fake cum in the crowd?
Yeah,
just like the most degenerate thoughts ever, because I don't know, I just think that's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, hold on, now I have to look this up. Do they have
to see if they're doctors? Really I don't know. Don't shatter the illusion for me. Don't shatter.
Right, you
look it up, but don't tell me.
Oh, I definitely. And what if it's true though? Should I tell you if it's true?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Wait, but then I'll know. So I guess you just can't tell me. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you.
Tell you. Okay, I won't.
Yeah, just don't tell me.
All right. Yeah. It'll be a mystery for you. I know the answer.
Yeah. Also, is it like, I'm totally down to talk about music and stuff the entire time, but is this also an MTG podcast as well? Or is this just a general podcast?
I guess it kind of is an MTG podcast, but it's, well, last week I had MTG Malone on here, and he's also an MTG player. He's an MTG YouTuber primarily, but he's also in a band in Germany. And so we talked about his band stuff for like a half an hour, 45 minutes. So it's like, I don't know. I kind of go into everything, just try to find out what people are into, which actually does lead me into the real question I had, or the next question I had. It was that I see that you're in a band. You're obviously really successful in that. You told me yesterday or 2 days ago that you were going to school, and then you're also going to the gym actively, and you stream on Twitch. And like, you're ridiculously busy. You have all these things going on. What am I missing from those things that you're doing? And then also, okay, well, yeah, what am I missing? Is there anything out of those that I'm missing?
You've covered pretty much everything, but like a lot of, so like, it's just, when I sit here and I think about it, it really is a lot, but to me it just feels like I'm just going and moving to the next thing. I go to the gym 6 days a week for about an hour and a half, and that's like for my physical and mental health. Since I've been when I was like 12, like they diagnosed me with like ADHD, but like what 12-year-old didn't, and then they put me on meds, and then I think the meds actually gave me ADHD from messing with my brain chemistry. So like, yeah, exactly. It's like, just don't put like pre-adolescent like preteens on like meds that fuck up their brain chemistry. Just don't. Let me finish baking before we try to adjust. And then, but so like, that's like, I go to the gym for my physical and like mental health. It helps me just be able to like focus, and it's also like super productive for like, it's kind of like, it helps me focus and think of things that I need to work on, or things I want to do, or gives me good ideas. And so I'm like on my phone and my notes app all the time at the gym. And then I stream about 3 days a week. I was streaming before Arena was a thing. I was playing a lot of Overwatch at the time because I do like the competitive aspects of game, but as soon as Arena came out, I was like, here we go. This is it. I've been waiting for this.
Were you always?
Because I was playing Hearthstone too. Yeah, I've been playing Magic since I was about 7.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I can't even remember like the year that happened, but
400 years ago.
It's been a long time. Well, I remember I was at a family friend's house, and one of the kids who was the son of the couple that my parents were friends with, Nick Ionta, he just had Magic cards. And I'm talking like old Magic cards, like black bordered, like, the brown ones, like the old, like way back when. Yeah. And
ones with like the brutal
I would
art
say,
on it.
Yeah, exactly. And my parents didn't want me playing that game because of the art on the cards, but he gave me like some cards, and so like I kind of learned how to play. And then for my birthday, I got the CD-ROM game. I think it came with like the Rhino guy. I think his name was Rox.
There was a game back in the day?
There was a CD.
What?
Yeah, there was a few. Apparently, there was a few of them. I only knew of the one, but like I got that, and like shortly after, and that's like kind of what taught me how to play. And then just like I started getting into like TCG. I kept doing Magic for a long time, and then I got introduced to anime, and then Yu-Gi-Oh happened, and so then I got into Yu-Gi-Oh, and then I switched back to like Magic in like high school.
Yeah.
After that, and so I stopped playing Magic at Kamigawa, I think, and then first Kamigawa, and then I picked it back up at Return to Ravnica.
Gotcha. Have you picked up
like
Yu-Gi-Oh again?
Right after First Innistrad. I tried picking it up a couple years ago. Honestly, I just don't like the limited interaction that the game has at a competitive level. It seems not fun to me. I don't want to just like sit there and like get to like it's turn 1. I'm like, cool. Do I get? Oh, I don't get to play a card. All right, cool. Next
turn
game.
Apparently, the new client and everything is pretty good, but I have no idea about the gameplay still.
Yeah, a lot of my friends have been picking it back up, and they say it's been super friendly for both like beginners and like veteran players and stuff like that. I know they had duels as the on iOS, and I that's how I tried getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was like, oh, this is cool. But I don't know, there's just something about Magic where like while it's like an extremely complicated game, it also seems way easier than any other TCG, in my opinion. I would say the only one that's like comparable to like being easy would be like Hearthstone. Because it's like the same game, but they just take out the having to like figure out like what color mana to tap for. It's like playing Magic with all colorless mana, and all the cards cost colorless. Yeah, and you never get mana screwed. Yeah, I on Saturday I was playing best of 3, and I had a good hand with one land, and I was just like, sure. And then I didn't draw any for like 4 turns. I was like, it was down to it was the last game of the match, and I was like, oh well, that wasn't the best decision I made. And it was Hive of the Eye Tyrant too.
Yeah, but what if you mulligan and you had 0 lands and then you didn't draw any land? I mean, it could have been worse, right?
The previous game I mulled to 5 or 4, so I was like, we're keeping this 1-9 hand. I'm not mulling anymore. I've got the cards I need to win. I'm hoping I'll draw into the land, and I think I went through like a third of my deck and I only pulled out 3 lands, which is rough.
Yeah, I'm on hashtag Team No Mully, so. I try to.
Team No
I never mulligan. Like 1 land, keep.
Yeah, my girlfriend Witchy Brew, she also does that all the time. She's like, "Oh, this is a good hand, and it doesn't have lands."
Wait, is she a streamer too?
All right, let's risk it. Yeah, she streams. She just like Witchy Brew on pretty much everything. She's kind of like taking a hiatus over the holiday season, but I've heard rumors that she might be back. I don't know if I can confirm this or not. Yeah. So
look at her profile.
Is she
a cosplayer too?
Yeah, she's a cosplayer. She's super talented at crafting, which is another thing that I do that you've missed. Is like I've started. She's gotten me into like doing crafts for cosplays and stuff, and I'm like just constantly adding more projects that I don't necessarily have time for, and that's one of them. I spent all day yesterday building a chest plate out of Eva foam.
Dude, that foam is such a pain in the ass.
It is, but I kind of like by the time I got to the end of it, I kind of like figured it out, because like you have the contact cement or like rubber cement. And what I do is like I'll paint it on both sides, and then the piece that I need to go on like attached to the main part, I'll heat up while the glue is drying, so that by the time I'm putting it on, it's super malleable and I can just like do it. And so I've been figuring it out. She tried to coach me on it, but my stubborn ass was like, no, I'm gonna figure this out on my own. I could have just listened and saved myself a lot of headache, but it's fine.
Yeah, and materials probably.
yeah, I had to cut some stuff out a couple times.
Measure twice, cut once. So you got to do that.
See, no, I measure once and cut twice.
Oh, no. You can't overcut. You end up with what you wanted to be a dragon slayer into like a short sword.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, well, I got a flex from here. Nah, it was all right. It was just a couple things. I think I only had to like recut like 3 pieces. It wasn't too bad.
Oh, that's not bad, I guess.
Yeah. So basically did that. She's been getting me really into cosplay. And then what else? So working out Twitch. I watch a lot of anime, or try to at least. I'm staying current with like my favorite shows: Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan. And I just picked up Haikyuu. I need to finish Death Parade still. Like that's a long list. I'm trying to read every January. I've set the goal. I'm going to read 1 book a month, and I have yet to do it. But
book? Book?
Yeah, like a book.
Ew.
And I've yet to do that, but I'm on course right now to do that. So I try to read a lot. I'm studying Japanese. I pretty much study every day, and I have class once a week. I would go to school, but I just don't have the funds to do it. And also, like getting my certification. If I can get my certification without paying to go to like a college course, that's just better, because you get the degree, but then you still have to take the certification test as well. Yeah. So there's that, and then obviously music. I don't know. Am I missing stuff? I really like The Bachelor and Bachelorette. That's my guilty. I wouldn't even say guilty pleasure show. That's just my mind rot show. That's how I turn my brain off.
There's a Korean version of that.
Singles Inferno.
Yes, the Inferno. The Inferno Island.
I started watching that. See, I can't do that show too much. Like I'm working my way through it, but I can't do it because I have to read the subtitles. And for me to read the subtitles, I have to like pay attention.
Korean is super easy to learn. It is the easiest language to learn, like on the planet.
Then why am I struggling with Japanese? Those two are so closely related.
I don't think so. No? I struggled way more with Japanese than I did with Korean. Although I don't speak either of them.
Oh, do you speak both?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but when I was learning both of them, I dated a Korean girl. That's the only reason I actually knew Korean at all. Japanese.
Just so you know, when she wasn't talking shit.
Yes, exactly. Exactly the reason.
You just learn some keywords. Like, you need to know when someone's talking about you. Yeah. Like, my Japanese friends are kind of like this. It's kind of the same way with my Japanese friends. Like, I didn't understand Japanese, like, when we first met. This is almost 10 years ago. And, but now I do. And so, like, I've taken that away from them. Like, they can no longer talk about me while I'm in the same room. And I feel powerful. I feel powerful about it. Although if they talk really fast, I won't get all of it, but I'll get most of it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool, though.
So yeah, that's like, I recommend everybody try and learn a second language.
Yeah. It's so useful.
Just because, like, it's super useful, especially if you can get your certification for it. Like, it opens up a lot of doors for you as far as just like what you can do, like, in your professions. And then also, I was told that learning a second language or knowing a second language and using it is like one of the number one ways to like combat Alzheimer's, which is interesting.
Huh.
Because it like works that muscle in your brain, that memorization thing.
Interesting.
In your brain too. So you're activating it, which is why you should always be learning, because you have to exercise your brain. And so it's like, I guess, without knowing, like, I go to the gym to take care of my body, and then I study, Japanese to like take care of my brain.
That's super interesting.
Works out.
Yeah. So
cover all
you're
your bases.
doing all this stuff. So in my experience with the people that I've been involved with, and for me personally, usually that's somebody who is really, really actively striving for great success, or is currently achieving it and trying to get even better or even more. So my question for you is, obviously you're either on the road to the success marker that you were going for, or you're already there. What is your actual end goal outside of the obvious happiness?
So I think, like anybody else, is to, just like live in existence, like within my means. That's not too that's not like in excess, and just be, obviously, like there's that happiness aspect, but also like beyond that, I guess, in like a professional sense, like I've never really done music for the money, because like as a 16-year-old, it's just like when you choose to do something like that, you're not really concerned about like money at the time. And so nobody really goes into music to like make money. If people wanted to make money, they would study business and go work at like Goldman Sachs or
same with streaming.
Like it's the same with streaming. Exactly. And so but like professional, like one thing checkmark I've always said, and like it's a pretty big one, is like I want to do Yokohama Arena in Japan, sold out, headlining. That would be that's like the marker I've had for like the last like 7-ish years, because I got attracted to the idea because music fans in Japan are just like, they're so different than they are here in the United States. Like here in the United States, everybody's like kind of gatekeeping and pretentious about like the music industry and stuff like that, but in Japan, people just like it. Like they just like music. There are no too cool like kids at shows, like with their arms crossed, not moving around because you're not the band that they're here to see. Like everybody is just like very respectful and supportive of like what people are doing, and so that's attracted me to that. But then also just like I think it would be like that would be the point of just like I don't want to say satisfaction because like I don't think people should I'm of the opinion like you should always be striving towards something, a goal, but I think that would be like the big checkpoint of like where I would have to figure out what I'm going to do next is like, okay, cool, I sold out 17,000 cap arena in a foreign country.
That's fucking crazy. That would be super cool.
Where do I go from here? Kind of a thing. And so like it's a big dream, and I know how like unrealistic it may seem to a lot of people, but like that doesn't mean I should try any less for it.
Well, because if you don't try at all, then obviously it'll never happen. If you only try a little bit, it'll never happen. If you don't,
yes, exactly.
You have to try a lot for anything like that to even come close to happening.
Yeah, so but like, you know, everyone like a lot of people is like, I'm my own worst enemy, like, you know, when it comes to like, you know, because like the only way I can get it done is if I put in the work, and if I'm not putting in the work, you know, so it's just a matter of like stepping up to the plate and holding myself accountable to do the things that I've set out to do.
So what is streaming helping you with that, or is streaming just like a side hobby?
So streaming started out, I started streaming to, I wasn't playing any video games, like between working, at the time working a day job and then also doing music. I didn't really have time to play video games like as a leisure activity. And so it was an excuse for me to like, play video games again. And I started out and I built the computer with parts that I got from somebody on the cheap, and like I put it like, so like there was that weird sense of like being a kid and like playing with Legos again when I was building the computer. And so like that was exciting, and then I started streaming to just like play video games, turn it into content, and then here I am almost 3 years later. Let's see. It's either been 3 or 4 years. I can't remember. One of my mods would know better than me. And now it's like a weird thing where it's like, oh, there's a community. Like there are people that I interact with, and so you know, and like I'm not gonna lie, like just like anything, it's like sometimes it can feel like a job because like, you know, you've made a commitment to yourself and like other people. But without fail, like I get within like 30 minutes of like going live, and I'm excited to be there. I'm excited to talk to the people that who have been supporting me for like, you know, whether it be 2 weeks or 3 years or whatever. It's like really cool that people just want to sit and hang, and me and my mods have like worked really, really hard to cultivate this this positive, welcoming environment. Like, because for me, streaming was like an escape, like to, you know, turn off my brain and think about, you know, card interactions for 2 hours.
Can't really do that.
I kind of want that to, yeah. And like that's what I want to do. And so like we worked really hard to create this space where it's like, hey, here's 2 hours where like we just talk about ridiculous stuff in chat, and I play games, and you may not know what's happening on screen, but it's just like a relaxing, it's like I just want it to be like 2 hours for people to just forget about stuff. And it's super nice, and it's been really cool because it's kind of turned into more like I've become through Magic. I've become friends with like more like MTG streamers, and so like playing games with them and being you know, I feel like I'm kind of like let's say if like, you know, like Magic the Gathering is Saturn and all the streamers and creators are the rings. I feel like one of the moons where it's like, oh, I'm around and hanging out, but like not really, like it's not like my main shtick, but like I don't know. It's but it's been really cool to just like be able to like, you know, call people up and be like, yo, do you want to play games? Like, oh, I'm doing this charity stream. Do you want in on this? And like even like doing this, like this would have never happened had I not played Magic, which is why I think Magic the Gathering is the best game ever. One of my good friends who I met through Magic the Gathering, Ben Ashbrook, he said Magic is the best game ever because you can just get random strangers together, sit down, and have something in common with them. And
Yeah.
It's super. I don't know. Magic is really, really special. Like, I know there's some animosity in the community right now, specifically around Commander, but like, if you, it's ridiculous. Like, people. So you wait. I have a question for you. You say you're the mayor of Sodium City.
Yes.
Your opinions on Turgid?
Turgid? Oh, well, wait.
Got it right.
Physical opinions or the card?
Like the card, yes.
I mean, I don't really. I like the lantern. I like Turgid's lantern. I don't know. I don't. Wait, are we talking about the same card?
Yeah, Turgid. Yeah, got it right. The lantern, and then has the other side.
I like her. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's
okay. Cool. You just say you're the mayor of Sodium City, so I'm just thinking you'd be salty over Turgid.
Oh no. I like Turgid. I'm biased because she's a redhead though, and I like pretty much every redhead character in MTG.
Okay, so Chandra.
Yeah. Well, because I
Nice.
abuse all Chandra triggers. I'm one of those people.
Are you mono red player?
No.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
no. I destroy lands. I'm not a degenerate aggro player.
No. That's worse than being a degenerate aggro player.
Yeah. I'm the person everyone hates, but I don't play mono blue tempo. Okay, I don't play counter spells. But I
don't know. I think land destruction might be worse than that because you can't even play the game without lands.
Exactly.
Like, at least I can cast the spells. They'll get countered and bounced, but I can still play them.
See, I would rather give you no hopes than hopes and then dash them.
Oh, God. That's gross. That's disgusting. I don't like this. I'm sorry. This is over. No, I'm just kidding.
That's pretty much what I specialize in, though.
A lot of people are salty about Turgid right now. Like, Turgid needs to be banned. It's like Turgid dies to removal. Like, you understand?
Wait, are you talking about like EDH or what?
Yeah, an EDH.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because I don't play any EDH.
Upset.
I've still never played Commander. I watch some Commander content, like the game nights and stuff when it comes out every month, and a couple other things if it gets linked to me on stream. And it seems really interesting to me, but Paper Magic, when I did play Paper Magic, is just way too expensive for me. I have no self-control. And so if I have a deck, because I'm just an avid brewer, that's all I do. I just brew decks. So I could make a deck that's, $50 or whatever. But I would foil it out and limited edition out for absolutely no reason and make it into like a $500 deck. For no reason, I would play it for maybe a week. And
I mean, but that's like what Commander is for. It's for like you're supposed to bling out your decks and just have it be like the most gaudy piece of jewelry you could own.
Which is specifically why I can't play Paper Magic.
Yeah, it gets expensive.
Yeah,
like I've been like all of the like desired cards like Teferi's Protection and Smothering Tithe. I was lucky enough to just like buy the product or open it in a pack.
Were those desired?
And so I have like one copy. Oh, Smothering Tithe is like $45, I think.
Geez.
Yeah, I mean it's not like a Gaia's Cradle. Oh, I've got the worst story about Magic and cards and prices.
Go on.
So when I was in high school, I was given a binder full of like really old cards, like Wheel of Fortunes, and their Gaia's Cradles. Like I have a set of dual. Like I have a Tundra, a Scrublands, and an Underground Sea.
Ooh, nice.
Because of this, because it was given to me. But like Commander wasn't like super big of a thing. No one had told me about it. I wasn't going to play Modern because I didn't want to. It was just like, so I was playing a lot of Standard. Yeah. So I sold
Type 2 at the time,
like a Gaia's Cradle, a Wheel of Fortune, and a bunch of other stuff for like boxes of like RTR and like Dragon's Gate. It was not the best investment. And now that I'm playing Commander, it's like I had a Gaia's Cradle and a Wheel of Fortune, and I would love to have those cards right now. And I got rid of them. I'm such an idiot.
Yeah, that's.
So now I don't get rid of cards. I don't. Although my dual lands are kind of like my they're like my oh shit, I'm in trouble fund.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, like if like. Yeah, it's just because like I think Underground Sea is like 500 right now or something.
They're
like that.
Expensive. Because I actually just recently looked into that, which is very convenient. Because what is it? It's gonna come out today actually, but there's I do a weekly like news and drama show, and there's the artist that actually did the Underground Sea. His name is Rob Alexander. I think it was Underground Sea. He did a bunch of the beta, like he did Taiga. I think he did Underground Sea too. He did a bunch of them. But people would send, like, he would sell a service to where he would, accept cards. He would sign it, or he would do like an alter art on your card and then send it back. He hasn't been sending back the cards, so he's just been keeping the cards. And people are like, hey, he took my card 4 years ago and I still haven't got it back. I'm just now bringing it up. And there's posts.
This is some Johnny Craig and like MacBooks type of shit. Right,
and there's posts going back like wild. 8 years about this. And I'm like, what? How is nobody...
And no one has like followed up or anything.
Yeah. And so now on his website, I guess he's been taking orders for a really long time, but in October, he stopped sending out all of the orders that he was taking in. So people have been like ordering stuff, whether it's like playmats or t-shirts or whatever, and he just stopped sending his product out. So,
I mean, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's super ill or something happened in his family.
Oh yeah.
Like, let's start. Not saying that it's right, but
no,
like,
my biggest thing was giving him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, I really want to give him the benefit of the doubt because he was one of the original 25 MTG artists, and I guess he's been working with WotC until about 2011. And a lot of people say he's like the nicest guy ever. All right, so I'll take a lot of personal experiences with that in hand. The fact that he was, working for WotC for like 20 years, 25 years. So, having a stable job, having good personal relationships and stuff with that people, good rapport. I'm like, okay, I give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe this is just a one-off. Maybe he lost the card and he's really embarrassed about it and he doesn't like that type of thing. He's scared about what's going to happen if he admits it, or he's trying to replace it. Or, there's a bunch of different things. But then I started looking into it more, and it's like there's posts going back 8 years, like back in 2014 of this happening. And then going back 6 years, and then going back 5 years, and going back 4 years. And I'm like, all right, when there's a pattern going back almost a decade.
Like, how do people keep sending their stuff to him to get signed and things like that? Like, what?
He'll show up at...
I guess if you're not looking for it, you're not...
Yeah. Well, I guess...
You're not going to find it,
I guess the biggest thing that's happening is because he will still sign cards and send them back. Because I guess his signature is the most common amongst the MTG artists, because I guess he's just one of the ones that sells it the most. But when he's at a convention or a tournament or something like that, he'll take people's cards and he'll take their payment, but he won't give them a receipt. And it seems like those are the ones that he never sends back because there's no technical proof. So again, this could just be people that don't like him, because I was only able to find 4 examples that were public. So having 4 opposed to with the 20,000 cards or probably something that he has signed. That I mean, it's hard to say, but I don't know how many.
So do you think it was just like the person was just like off-putting to him, like in person, and he was just like, I'm just going to keep your card?
Or the person never actually did anything and he never even met this guy. Potentially. So,
let's not spoil your whole episode that's coming out tomorrow.
No, it's coming out today. This podcast isn't coming out till tomorrow. So
okay, well go watch that episode right now. Stop, pause this, and go over there.
Well, the thing is like the news show is usually just like a brief overview. It's like a 2 or 3 minute segment overview of what's going on in the community. It's not an hour long conversation.
See, but I was thinking you were like, it was like an hour-long thing where you look like Charlie Day in the mailroom with like trying to find Carol in HR.
I would love to do that if I didn't have a day job, but at the same time, I love my day job, so I don't want to quit my day job.
Fair. Yeah, that's a huge, like, having time to do the stuff is like hard.
Yeah.
Like, writing music takes time, and then like over the past like year I've been like kind of learning how to like produce my own music, and one of the things that I learned to do but I don't do a lot of because it's so time consuming is like editing vocals. It's just time consuming, but I gotta find a way to do it. Like, I spend a lot of time like watching shows at the end of the day like around like before I go to bed. It's like maybe I should just like open up my laptop and just like drop a track in and just like do my best. I don't know.
Interesting.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah, there's so many different like techniques or habits that you can just get into that'll improve your overall productivity, even if it's just by a little bit. Like if you watch 10 episodes or 5 episodes at the end of the night, or just like for an hour, you take 20 minutes of that and dedicate it to like some song or whatever, just like learning. Instead of watching an episode of anime, you watch a 20-minute episode on how to properly configure an EQ or something like that.
I was like, it was a couple days ago, I was just editing guitars and I burned through an entire season of the last season of Too Hot to Handle. And
I've even heard of that.
I did all of it in that time. I was like, 8 episodes and I did this. And like, you feel like you got nothing done, but then you're like, oh wait, all these guitars are edited and I finished a show that I didn't actually need to like pay a lot of attention to because it's garbage. So
that's fair.
Yeah, I love my background shows. One Piece is a background show for me because it's just so long where it's just like I'll never get through this if I don't passively watch it.
Yeah, One Piece is my favorite show, probably.
Actually?
Yeah, it's my favorite anime, but not my favorite manga.
Okay. How do you feel about the live action that's coming up?
I'm optimistic, but also pessimistic. Just because pretty much every live action of an anime has been atrocious.
Well,
I think the one that
go ahead.
I think the one that had the most, I guess, potential, and you could crucify me on this, but I think the one that had the most potential was possibly the Death Note anime. It was horrible. Or not the anime, but the live action. The live action of Death Note.
The live action,
it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible, but it had so much potential.
They went wrong. It had potential, but where they went wrong is like that story could have been totally usable had they just changed characters' names.
Yes.
Like if you didn't have Light and Al, and you just had completely different people doing it, it wouldn't have been crucified, because if it was just another instance of Yuke dropping a Death Note, like that would have been so much better. It was just like, oh, this works, it would have worked, but because you named the characters Light and Al, it's going to get held up in the light of the anime.
Yeah, and even in the story, he's like, oh, I dropped my notebook, and they're like, oh, you lost it again? So like everybody knows that it wasn't the first time it's happened. And so
yes, exactly.
And that's what I think that they had going for them. They were smart about it, and they're like, okay, we can't follow the exact story of what the anime was, and that's unrealistic to do. And I mean, not necessarily unrealistic, but it wouldn't have been as good, I think. And I think they realized that. So like, what we're going to do is we're just going to put all that stuff aside, and we're going to focus on our own story, something that can fit within a movie, and we can.
But they still use the characters' names.
Yeah, I think they kind of fucked up the storytelling too. But I think they were on the right path as far as going a completely different direction. However, they can't do that with One Piece. That was the correct idea. They cannot do that with One Piece.
No, they cannot do it. Well, fun fact, my sister is Nami in the live action One Piece.
Wait, your sister is Nami?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, for real.
Okay. You're probably not going to be able to say this at all, but there was a poll on Twitter that said, should we give Usopp the long nose like he does in the anime? Do you have an opinion on that?
I feel like if it's a live action, no.
Agreed.
Like, because that's just like there are certain things where you're gonna have like the weirdness. You're gonna have Luffy being like stretchy. You're gonna have whatchamacallit, the clown Chop Chop Man. I forget his name. Buggy. Yeah, like you're gonna have Buggy being a Chop Chop Man. Like you got all these things, but like it's just like it doesn't like I don't think we should like it's a live action iteration of it, and like the way I look at it is like these features like in anime they're like accentuated to like make the character like a character.
Yeah.
But the long nose thing is just that's weird. This ain't Pinocchio. Like
it's the weird. Same with their the way they act too. What was that most recent live action one that everyone was super excited about? That got canceled. Cowboy Bebop. Yes.
Cowboy Bebop. That was that was much better than Death Note. But where I think they really went wrong is that they kind of rewrote Faye and the type of character she was. Like, she's supposed to be this like femme fatale, but like sensual and like seductive, but like, you know, like, but still like super badass. And then they made her like the best I can describe her is like they made her more like Florence Pugh in like Black Widow or Hawkeye.
Interesting.
Like, kind of like that, and so which was not what people wanted, but
or what you would expect.
Spike, Spike, and why can't I think of his name right now? The other guy, his partner in Bounty Hunter.
I don't remember. It's been so long since I watched it.
Yeah, I just watched it. I'm a horrible anime fan. But those two, like the acting and performances were great. I just like, I feel like there's just there wasn't really anything wrong with the writing. The guy who played Vicious, I think he was good. I think there was just like a lot of directing mistakes. I don't think there was anything necessarily wrong with the script, and the combat was not in my opinion, what it needed to be. But that's just my opinion. Yeah. Like, I can be wrong. I'm okay with that.
There was one character. I remember looking at one scene, and I think it was Edward. Maybe somebody was laying on the ground in like an alleyway, and then
it was John, and then Ed, and then it was Spike, and then
Ed, that
up.
was weird.
And I feel bad for that kid. I feel so bad for that kid because like they were going to bring Ed in on season 2, and they teased Ed at the end of season 1, and then Ed's like on Twitter being like, "Oh, I'm so excited to be a part of season 2. You guys are going to love it," and then it gets canned. I was like, "Oh." That sucks. And I feel the worst for people working on that shows because they've lost a source of like income, or like, you know, they've lost like a chance to be a breakout, like a break for their careers or something like that. But Netflix is raising their prices in February.
Really?
Like, again, yeah, like the normal fee, the normal one is going to be like 15, and then if you have the 4K subscription, it's going to be 20. And
I thought it was already
I feel like
15.
20 is like I think for the 4K one or something, or it was 18 for the 4K one. I can't remember, but it was like, I feel like they're starting to, when you start charging $20 for a streaming subscription, that seems aggressive.
Yeah.
And they took down most of the anime. Like Haikyuu's not on there, Fullmetal Alchemist isn't on there. Yeah, I don't know, but they're like promising good stuff this year. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the only one I pay for right now is VRV, and I hated when VRV got rid of Shudder. They used to be partnered with Shudder, so I had that with it too, which was fucking sweet. But yeah, VRV has like Crunchyroll and a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, does it? It does have Crunchyroll.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's built-in Crunchyroll, which is mainly what I used to watch,
nice.
And then it used to have Shudder, but it's still super cheap, and you get all these other extra things with it. But that's the only one I use because it's the only one that's worth the price, in my opinion. You can't
just be sharing all your secrets on your podcast.
I know, right?
Everybody's gonna know, and then they're gonna jack up the price.
I miss all my horror movies and horror shows. What's that all about?
Yeah, I'm not super into horror. Like, I'll watch horror movies, but it's not something I seek out. Though I do have to say that I feel like horror movies are where a lot of like the more like original weird stuff is happening. Like, it's really hard. Like, I feel like a lot like currently with movies, they're just like rebooting, rehashing, redoing XYZs. There's not a lot of original stories, and I feel like horror movies are one of the few places where there are original stories, because it's like the only place you can get your like some person's crazy, wacky, weird idea like onto the screen.
Yeah.
So.
Which is true, because your only goal of a horror movie, for the most part, for it to be quote unquote successful, is to scare people. and a lot of times that's pretty easy to do because people get scared pretty easily.
Did you watch Malignant?
No, I have not. I've heard about it.
You gotta watch it. It's good.
All right, hold on, let me make a note.
It's good. It's very fun.
All right, I took a note. I'll have to watch that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm much more into like the horror animes and horror mangas than anything else, and that's why I really like Berserk.
Parasite. Have you seen Psycho-Pass?
Yeah. Psycho-Pass is good.
Yeah.
I got really into. This isn't necessarily horror, but Dorohedoro. I don't know if you've read that.
Yeah, that's on Netflix, right?
Yes, it is on Netflix now. The anime, the manga.
Yeah, it's one of their.
Yeah,
animes.
the manga is ridiculous. So if you like artwork, read it because the artist is ridiculously talented. She's crazy. She's crazy good.
Okay.
It's the weirdest animation, and I don't know. It's just bizarre. It's bizarre, but it's super cool.
Yeah, I'll definitely have a check out because I did have it saved on my list for Netflix, but I've been trying to read more. Like I have like Tokyo Ghoul is like my favorite anime and story. I still haven't read all the way through the manga yet, like because which is just like awful to like be like, oh yeah, it's my favorite. Haven't finished it, but I started watching and I stopped because I was like, this seems bad. Like
I saw the first 2 episodes.
This seems. Yeah, I'm like, this seems bad. Yo, dude, like they took away like all the cool animation. Like I was like, yo, give me that the My Hero Academia like a level of like combat.
Yes.
Like because there isn't a lot of combat in that story. It's a lot of like planning and like emotions and like relationships between characters. But when the fights do happen, it's like I need them to be
perfect.
Huge. Like I need them to be insane. Or like you give me the Demon Slayer level of like stuff, especially if you're gonna like go cheap on the animation for like the rest of it. But like I heard of the issue with that show is that they had multiple studios working on it.
Wait, multiple studios? I don't think I've ever heard multiple studios working on the same season.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So
that's crazy.
I can't verify that, but that is something that was told to me, and I would be like, I would rather that be the case for it being bad.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. That would make sense for sure. There's lack of communication between multiple studios, lack of direction. They all want to go their own ways.
Yeah, and I just feel like you can't do that with like when you have a source material, you have to stay true to it. You can't make it about something else or change it. But I feel like if you're passing hands too many times, then it becomes an issue.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess we could go back to Magic.
Yeah, where do we leave off?
What about the Netflix? What about the Netflix Magic?
Dude, I have no idea.
Is that even going to happen again?
I don't even know what's going to happen there.
Is that still not happening? I heard it was happening.
Like, I don't want it to be like a Yu-Gi-Oh thing where it's like, oh, or they're doing a D&D one too, where it's just like, I don't want it to be like we're in the real world playing this game and now we've been tossed into this mythical world. I don't like that. It's like an isekai, essentially.
Yes.
What it is.
So you're not a fan of isekais?
I like isekais, but
they have to be done right.
I don't have the hate form or the vitriol that like a lot of people have, but I think this whole like I just feel like when you have worlds like the multiverse and Magic and D&D where you've got it's so rich in flavors and a bunch of other things that you don't need to muddy it with this weird isekai.
It definitely shouldn't be like that. I would be very disappointed if it was like that. But at the same time, MTG hasn't been able to write a good story since the early 2000s.
Yeah,
they have amazing world building, amazing character development, but holy shit, their storytelling is atrocious.
Which one is going to be animated?
The MTG one is animated. For some reason, I thought there was going to be a live action one too, but
yeah. But back on the last good story they wrote, what was it? Ixalan? Ixalan was the last decent one.
Oh, I couldn't even tell you.
with like Jason. I heard I didn't read it, but I just heard a lot of people talking about like the whole Jason Vraska thing was like really cool and interesting and something.
Yeah,
different.
It's good, but then you have to look at how it's built up to that.
Yeah. Were the War of the Sparks books any good?
I didn't read those.
Wasn't there like 3 of those?
Yeah.
I don't know.
A lot of the individual stories seem like pretty. I don't know, how do you say this? So, have you ever seen like a super cool fight scene, and you're like, "This is the coolest fight scene I've ever seen," but then you try to look at the development to that fight scene to be like, "Okay, well, why did it lead to this fight scene?" And then you start looking at, you're like,
"Oh, Dragon Ball
this
Z.
Makes absolutely no sense." Even Dragon Ball Z has some kind of sense, almost.
Yeah,
Magic has like none of that. You're like, wait, what? Why did what? this makes no what? It's just none of it makes sense.
Know. I've never been a fan of like planeswalkers like in the game. Like I feel like I don't know.
Boomer.
I miss the days of no planeswalkers.
I honestly wish they would bring back the. This is probably stupid, but they used to have like some legendary planeswalker rule to where you could only have one planeswalker on the battlefield of that name.
There was just a legendary rule in general. Like you could was same with legendary creatures, I think, as well.
Did they?
You could only one person could have it on the side of the battlefield. I don't know, or maybe it was just planeswalkers. I don't know.
I don't remember that.
Someone can look it up.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. But yeah, so if you had 2 different Jaces, you couldn't have 2 different Jaces, even if they were different names of Jaces. You could only have one Jace.
So like you can't have 2 Teferis on the battlefield.
Yeah, you couldn't have Hero Dominaria and Time Raveler. You could only have one of them.
Yeah. What's the one that lets you do stuff on your opponent's turn? That one needs to get banned. That's the most broken shit I've ever seen in my life.
That one is banned. On Arena? Yeah, it's been banned on Arena for like, I don't know, maybe a year now.
Oh, thank Lord. I remember when that came out, and I played against it a few times, and I was just like, how is this fair that they get to activate their planeswalker on my turn?
Oh, that one.
Like
that one. No, that one's still legal, the 4 mana. Yeah.
Yeah, that one, that shouldn't be a thing. You get to draw a card on your turn and my turn? No, that's not. I play Orzhov, sir.
Yeah, but don't you like just screaming in response?
Oh god! I mean, just mainboard in all of your vanishing verses. Just like nope.
Yeah, I hate blue mages, but if I do anything that I can do at instant speed, I just make sure to play it like a blue mage. So if somebody does anything, I could just scream in response, and it feels good. And now I understand why people play blue.
I forgot who said it, but I want to say it was LSV, but I think they said once that, or was it Brian Kibler? I can't remember, but somebody said that, playing, the game is in the favor of the person who plays defense. Because, you're reacting to what the other player is doing instead of running into whatever surprises that they may have.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's true. But
that might.
But I also think it depends on the format as well. Especially with standard or alchemy right now. I find that even playing a control deck, you want to go first for some reason.
Yeah, everyone usually always wants to go first, unless you're playing some combo decks. Some combo decks always want to go second just because they need that extra card in their hand.
Or there's that one land that comes into play untapped for any color if you're the second
the new one
person. That's the new one. Yeah, alchemy,
the foreskin land.
The foreskin.
You know what I'm talking about. Hold on, it's foreskin something or something foreskin. You know, hold on. Now I gotta find it.
Stop saying foreskin.
I'm not crazy. It says it's foreskin something. Hold on, I'm loading up Arena. I'm figuring this out right now. We're doing it live.
Oh god.
Okay.
Let's see here.
It's a great card. I keep forgetting it exists, but it's a good card.
Yeah, I find that only the blue decks run it. None of it. Even the black.
Foreskin Crossroads. See, Foreskin Crossroads.
I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that imagery.
Here, I'll DM it to you. It's perfect.
Dude, there's gonna be some weird alter sleeve of that one day. And
There
you know
should
it.
be. Oh, the one I love
They have
the most.
they have super strict rules.
Oh,
They have super strict rules on alter sleeve though, which is like kind of disappointing.
they're not that much anymore, from what I remember.
Like on their strictness. Forsaken.
No, it's foreskin. 100%.
No, it's Forsaken.
Prove it.
No, I'm never gonna be able to unsee
Here,
that.
this is the
now,
best
whenever I'm
one.
playing.
I don't know if you've ever seen Dovin's a Cutie.
Dovin's the cutie. That's
Have you seen the original card?
That's great. No, is that an alter sleeve for it though?
No, I think that's just a paint, but it should
Just
be.
an alter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I've been wanting to get some alter sleeves, and I've also been like trying to like get together like custom like because I've been streaming War Commander online, and also been now that like the world's opening back up, and playing a lot more in person, and so I'm looking at getting like custom boy hero sleeves and play mats.
Yeah, there's a couple of people that do it, which is good.
Yeah, Dragon Shield does custom
Yes.
sleeves, which is like huge, but they're like $25 for 100, which is like almost double the price, more than double the price. But it's like, you know, it's custom, it's whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think inked mats or something like that, or inked play mats, or inked something. Does
There's
play mats.
another group of people that reached out to me a little bit ago, and I actually got Your Playmat. It's called yourplaymat.com. And they do some decent work. I got some sleeves done, like some custom sleeves done, and I got a mat done. And the mat's pretty good. I do like the mat a lot. The sleeves are kind of whatever. Thing is, I don't play paper.
Mm-hmm.
They reached out for a sponsorship, and I was like, it's really cool, but it's hard to take, a paper related sponsorship when you don't play paper, kind of thing. Like, buy all this stuff that I can't test or verify that's good, It's
Yeah, it sounds like you just got to get into EDH.
People keep trying to get me to get into EDH, and it's very dangerous. I'm like, I'll go to like TwitchCon and somebody bring me a deck and I'll play.
Yeah, it's TwitchCon's happening this year, right?
San Diego.
Like 2022.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they haven't put badges on sale yet though, right? Because I tried looking like yesterday, and like they don't even have it like up on the site.
It's actually a good question. I thought they already started selling them, but maybe not.
Yeah, I want to go, but that's also the same month as When We Were Young Fest.
That's not actually going to happen. There's no way.
Oh yeah, it's happening.
There's not. That's 100% fake. Come on.
You think it's
100%.
fake? You think a Live Nation event is fake? I mean, if there was a company to do it.
Yes, exactly. They're trying to raise money for that lawsuit by stealing money.
That's what everybody's saying. But like, you can't have all of these. Like, I have friends who are playing it.
Okay, so they are actually playing it. Because I heard rumors. Now, so it's rumors, so it's ridiculous. But I've heard that some bands, they didn't know that they were playing until they saw their stuff on the poster. And they're like, okay, I guess we're playing.
I 100% believe it, because they probably haven't done anything for months or years or whatever due to COVID, or maybe they broke up or something like that. But they still have they're still signed to a booking agent. Like their deal hasn't expired with a booking agent or something like that or whatever. And so Live Nation reaches out to booking like agent. I'm trying to think of like what is it? I can't think of it, but just some big like management or booking agency, and says, hey, we want so and so for this date, it's this much money, can we make it? And they just go yeah, and then they don't communicate it to the artist.
That's actually
that they're playing that event.
And because they'll just take anything because they haven't been able to do anything for a couple of years. That's fascinating. That makes sense. That actually makes way more sense now that I think about it.
And then Witchy's prediction is also that like everybody's worried about there's X amount of bands and not enough time. First
like
of all,
4 stages.
People have never been to Warped Tour. People have never been to Warped Tour.
Warped Tour is definitely a lot less fast paced than that's going to have to if you look at the time, because they said that's going to be 12 hours long. 65 bands over 12 hours.
12 hours. I think it's 11 to 11:30. I think is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is what they said. But either way, what Witchy was saying is that she thinks that Live Nation is banking on bands dropping off because of COVID. So they're going to lose some of their acts because of COVID.
That's why they said there's no refunds no matter what.
So they overbooked it to compensate for bands dropping off, like because of COVID. Because right now, I see probably about once a day, X band or X artist has to, push back a tour, drop off a tour, can't play X amount of dates on a tour because somebody in their camp or they themselves have tested positive for COVID. So I think they're just preparing for like the worst. I think we're going to get all of our huge headliners. Like we're still going to get Paramore, like Bring Me the Horizon, My Chemical Romance, all those people are still going to play because they're going to be like super self-conscious and like keep their camp small and like, closed like rehearsals or whatever like that. But all the smaller bands, they aren't going to have those luxuries. And I think that some of them, through travel, rehearsal, whatever, are going to end up getting it and then not being able to perform.
That would suck.
Yeah, it would, because like, like you said, for some of these people, like that festival is like the first big thing they've done since COVID happened. Yeah. So
if they do it right, because it's possible. I've never seen it done, but if they have 3 stages like they say they're going to, and they have,
I mean, look at this, like Coachella. Like Coachella's like stacked every single day with more artists than are on that bill.
Yeah, but they have to, because you have to tear down the set and then bring up the next set. It depends on how custom each individual band's.
Only the headliners are going to get like, like good setups. Like I would say that like, Paramore, MCR, Bring Me the Horizon, A Day to Remember. A Day to Remember's on there, right?
Yeah, but if you have like 2 drum sets on there at all times, so each person, like a band can play while the other one is setting up, and then once that band's done, the next band can just go and play, and it goes like that.
They'll probably have 2 drum risers.
Yeah, if that's doable and they're able to get that done, then they could get all like 65 bands to play in 12 hours on 3 stages.
Yeah, and a lot of bands are doing like DI instruments, like whether it be like an FX Stomp or whatchamacallit. Why am I blanking on all these things? Not Axe FX, but Kemper. There we go. Or like a Kemper, like it's all digital amps, and so all you have everything set up. You have your triggers programmed for those amps on your laptop. All you do is plug your laptop into your playback rig, and then you send an Ethernet out to the digital board at front of house, and they have all your stuff already. So like you just plug one thing in. Like it's so easy nowadays to do that. Like that's what I did on my tour. So I just had I had 3 racks. One had in-ears, the other one had playback, and then the stage box itself. And all we did was we plugged in all of our stuff into 3 boxes, and then we ran one line out to front of house.
That's actually really cool.
And like the drums were the hardest thing to set up because you had to mic them and plug them into the stage box.
I was a drummer. I remember.
Yeah. But the thing is, like when your guitarist doesn't have an amp, all they got to do is plug into this pedal. Like,
yeah, that's nice. That's real nice. Yeah.
So,
wait, so what is the
easy.
best? Or best is a very loaded word. What is the show you are most excited to play at? I don't even know how to phrase that properly. What is the best show you've ever had? Actually, no, I take back that question. I had this question for a while, but I kept getting distracted. Okay, so what are the differences between playing at a live concert, like playing music at a live concert, and then talking in between music if you do that, or playing Magic on a live stream and talking to the chat?
I would say that talking to chat is way more difficult on Twitch than it is to have banter in between. At least for me personally, when you're on tour and you're doing the same and you're running the same set every night, you kind of have like your go-to bits. You'll cycle through a couple of them, or you'll have something new. And like being on tour, there's always something like interesting happening like day of that you could even pull back to. And then also like being on stage is like I kind of turn off my brain when I'm doing that. Like I become like I kind of, the best shows that I have are the ones that I forget, that I don't remember, because it's like I was just purely in the moment for 20-30 minutes. And so a lot of the times that's easier, but like with Twitch it's like you're not getting the like the audible feedback from the crowd. You and the music you're listening to are the only sounds that you hear, and so and then just trying to just like keep talking the entire time while you're streaming can be difficult, because sometimes you run out of things to talk about, or like sometimes you're like, you could be like me with like ADD, and you're just all of a sudden you're focused on like playing Magic, and you're thinking things in your head but you're not saying them, and because like it just doesn't, and so like that happens sometimes. I always apologize to chat because I'm not the best at keeping up with it, because like, which is great, a great problem to have, because that means people are talking with each other and interacting, and it's awesome. But sometimes I miss stuff, and especially like when it's like late game in a control match, and I'm trying to count how many blood tokens I have to know if I have enough to sack them all so I can drain them for the rest of their life total. Like it's rough, so I would say that that's harder, but like it's not a bad thing by any means. It's just something that I'm not really good at yet, and I just have to get better.
Now, does one of those help the other? Is there any translation between the two?
I would say that it's probably like the same skill set. It's just you don't need to do it as much when you're on stage, and so I would say having to constantly entertain and chat on Twitch and on stream helps with like on stage presence, because like there will be times where things will like go wrong on stage, and like someone's got to plug something in, test something, something like that, and you got to be able to just like move on, like entertain for a while. And you can only ask how the crowd is doing so many times in a set. So you got to come up with like little bits for things, or like I think that's like another reason why like a lot of bands like have like a message that they try to spread on stage, because it gives them something to talk about. True. But like me being the opener on a tour, mostly I'm just there to hype up the crowd for like the next band, and which I think is a hard job, but feel like I'm very good at
it. I think that's probably one of the hardest jobs, and that's why the people that are the best at being hype men are almost more well known than the actual people. Like, who doesn't know Flava Flav? Who doesn't know Lil Jon?
I mean, it's like personality, you know? And that's like the thing about doing on stage banter and stuff like that. It's like you gotta figure out like a personality, like what are your inspirations that you're pulling from, what works. Like one of my friends who's in the Word Alive, Telly, go check them out if you haven't. I was talking with them, and he was telling me that his pre-show like playlist that they play to the crowd, it's not like stuff for them to get hyped to. It's music for him to gauge what kind of crowd it's going to be that night, and how they react to certain songs and stuff like that. And that was the smartest shit I've ever heard.
Five head.
Like, it is. It's like, that's big brain thinking, and like that. I mean, but you can tell that that's like his thing, because like you watch him perform, it's like, oh shit, he's a top tier frontman. Like that's why he's at where he's at, is because he's so personable and so intelligent and thinking about stuff like that. But it's just like, damn, it was like I have a whole new like idea of like like that's just something I just never thought of, and I was like, damn, I'm stealing that. That's
yeah,
really
100% stealing it. That's ridiculous. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just pick songs of different flavors, like the example he uses, just like, oh, if the crowd is singing to like Crawling by Linkin Park, like he knows that they're there to be nostalgic and like be part of the environment and like really get into it. Like he knows he got an engaging crowd. If it's like people who are into which means probably like counteractive, if they don't do that, they're there to discover like new music, or they're interested in seeing who this person is, or maybe they're just there for the headliner, so you got to win them over or something like that. But it's super that was one of like the biggest brain plays I've ever heard in my life.
Super interesting. Yeah, I love like marketing and weird things like that. I'm super, super interested in every little thing. That's so weird. I never even thought about that.
Yeah. It's just like, I think it's just something that you just, little things that you pick up from just like being around for a while.
Yeah.
Like, when you're doing it, you start like, it's, when you surround yourself with the thing that you're trying to do, or like, you let it consume you, you're able to think about it in ways that you wouldn't have from, a different, perspective.
But yeah, the reason I ask if they translate is between like the live show and the Twitch stream is because once I started doing YouTube content, like completely offline YouTube content, it's a completely different part of your brain, I guess. It feels way different between, even if it's just recording to being live. Because if I just sit there and try to record, even if I have a script, because I bought a teleprompter for the memes, but it ended up being one of the best investments that I ever made. But like even doing that, I can, for a 10-minute video to record, it could take me 30 minutes just because of doing countless takes, retaking it, doing everything, rewriting a script and doing stuff like that. But when you're live on Twitch, everything seems more like kind of natural and flows a bit, and it's just so weird. But if I know nobody's actively watching me and I don't have chat to just fall back on or something, then I don't freak out or anything. It's a completely different environment, completely different feeling. I know I feel it uses a different skill set, so I didn't know if it was different for you.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I've noticed with myself is, especially from like pre-recording things or videos or TikToks or whatever, is that I use a lot of like sounds in between words that I say, and I don't necessarily like that. And like even now doing this podcast, I'm very conscious of me using like and stuff like that.
I do that so much.
Instead of just, I do it so much as well. But what it is just my brain. It's an audible sound that I make to connect the thoughts, when instead you can just allow there to be silence in between your words. Like it's totally fine, and it's just something that a lot of people don't necessarily think of all the time, and it actually sounds better. And so it's something that I've gotten better at. I sometimes speak a little slower, which is probably a good thing because I typically talk really, really fast, but it also gives you time to think about what you're saying before you say it, instead of just blowing right through whatever point you're trying to make.
And especially if you're...
And it also makes you sound...
Go ahead.
I feel like it also makes you sound like a little bit more intelligent if you aren't umming and ahhing the entire time. True. Yeah, especially if you're a smaller streamer, then you're able to... Even just dragging out your words, dragging out your sentences, even just eliminating the ums and ahs and just putting in pauses between your words, it gives you more time to think, elaborate, but also just strictly drag out time, which helps because you don't have as much interaction in chat as you would if you had 1,000 viewers or 10,000 viewers or 100,000 viewers. It's a completely different situation. Well, when you get to that point, you don't even pay attention to chat anymore. I feel like at that point, when you got 100,000, when you've got thousands of people watching, and chat's just speeding by, and you'll catch like one comment every 5 minutes, maybe.
It's crazy. I don't know if you've ever watched. There's some people who are so good, but like Hassan Abi. I'm not a huge fan of his stream, but if you watch his stream at all, he can watch a YouTube video or listen to something. He doesn't really play games, but he can like do stuff, interact with that, but still read chat and consume every comment, it seems, at the same time. And a lot of people seem to be able to do that. Like Disguised Toast does that too. And
see, that was the person who I was talking about, where they have so many people and they don't even do it. Like, I was watching a stream the other day, and he's just like, he wasn't really saying it. Like, he'd comment every once in a while,
just ignore
but like
it.
he was not like, like I feel like you just get to a point where people like they're just there to watch you do the thing and shout some stuff into chat for no reason.
Yeah. Because I know what Asmongold said that he did, and I don't know how many times he's actually talked about it, but he said that when chat is just going crazy, he can read some things. Sometimes he'll just pick out one little comment and then go on a rant about it for 5 or 10 minutes, and then find something else in chat and then do the same thing. But sometimes if there's something he wants to talk about and nobody's talking about it in chat, he'll just be like, oh, that's a good comment, and he'll pretend like somebody actually talked about it. But since the chat is going by so fast that you don't know that nobody talked about it, that's awesome. So Fivehead.
I'm gonna do that in my stream now too. And everybody's gonna catch me doing it, but I'm just gonna roll with it.
I did that once too, and I got called out immediately. I was like, all right, fuck you. I don't want to talk about it anyway.
It was like, and I would have flipped it. It was like, oh, so you don't think what I want to talk about is interesting? Wow, that's weird.
You just come out of nowhere. That's a great question. They're like, what question? Who has the question?
This is all statements so far. That's awesome. That's a big brain. There's a lot of like really good, like, and I would say to recommend to anybody who's streaming, like, go look at other streamers who are doing like your type of content or like what you're doing, because there are so many people who have like good ideas that, and here's the thing, like, I've heard it before, but it's like good artists copy, great artists steal.
True.
And the thing about doing these ideas is that nobody, like, when it comes to like streaming and stuff like that, nobody really owns an idea. Like, it's not like patented, it's not a creative piece of work or like, you know, and everybody borrows from everybody. Yeah. Just like, so go out there, see what other people are doing, and oftentimes you won't even like just straight up steal something. You'll see somebody doing something that's like, oh, I can do that but better, or something like it, or something that suits me more, or suits my audience more. Especially with channel points. Channel points is like one of the weirdest like currencies in streaming, and it's just like I think everybody has a hydrate button for channel points.
I'm the only one who doesn't, I feel.
Like, well, it sounds like you're dehydrated.
I know. Well, I drink all the time. I drink so much that it's bad anyway. So if I had a hydrate button, it would just be bad anyway.
Yeah, my mods had to turn it off the other stream because people were spamming it to the point where I just chugged my water bottle, and it's been off.
You know, you can limit the amount of times it can be redeemed, and also set a cooldown on it.
Well, you got like a lot of these channel points. I started when I just hit affiliate. Like I was only getting like 7 to maybe 9 viewers at a time, and you know, in that time my channel has like doubled. You know, I get anywhere between like 15 to 20 you know viewers typically, and so like I haven't gone back and revisited these things and these rules I've made, and it doesn't apply at the same rate as like before. These channel points were used and you cash them in at an appropriate time, because I only had, you know, I have 9 people watching but only 4 people are chatting, so like to get more engagement, you know, making those things cost less just meant more interaction between me and chat. But now I'll have 20 people spamming drink water, and so I'll have to chug my entire water bottle.
Yeah, that is a conundrum. That does happen. A lot of people are doing more sound emotes now, or sound redemptions for channel points. A lot of people are doing that now.
Oh.
So when you redeem
Yeah,
it.
I was on I saw one, I think it was, do you know Bon Bonito?
Yeah, I know Bon.
MTG
yeah,
streamer? Yeah, great
Yeah,
streamer.
she's amazing.
Love her energy, but they had a channel point for like, it was like karaoke. And like me being a musician, I'm like, why the fuck didn't I think of that? Where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm listening to Spotify. Let me just turn it on and just like do it. Like it doesn't need to be good. It's karaoke. But like I could do that for, 10,000 points or something. I
think she got that from Herbie, actually. Level 99 Herbie. See, I don't know if you know who that is.
Exactly what I was saying. Everybody gets it from somebody.
Herbie has one. Like, his is way out of control, though. It's actually just like karaoke mode where he goes onto YouTube, the person requests a karaoke song, and he just sings. And he's a bad singer, but he is hilarious.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, and they're like, but it works. Like great. that works. It works for people in different ways, and like I'm gonna have people probably like requesting a sing like Shania Twain or some shit like that, and like that doesn't suit my voice, but I'm gonna do it.
Might as well.
So, and it's gonna be a bit, and it's gonna be great. So yeah, it's just channel points is a weird currency now. Yeah, and I don't know what to do about it.
There's a lot. There's one that I stole from someone else. It's called Relentless Positivity. Or like aggressive positivity.
Oh god, no.
So if you're playing against like a blue mage and they're just countering everything and you just get really frustrated, they redeem that and you're like, the opponent is playing very, very intelligently with
oh man, these cards are so good and are so fair.
It's so difficult.
You know what? I hope they have Jawara's Disruption in hand. I hope they do. Good for them.
I know. It's brutal, but it's hilarious. People hate it, but people also love it.
It's always going to be against blue players too. Wait, what? Yeah. So what's your... Oh, ADD. So, did you see the secret layer for the astrology secret layers?
No.
The lands?
Oh, wait. I think so.
Yeah, I think, what is it, Sagittarius or whatever? I'm sorry to whoever does that because I don't pay attention to that. But what I was thinking is like, oh, we're going to get to figure out like our triomes. Because you have your rising, your moon, and your sun or whatever. Like you have your three main. Whatchamacallits?
Yeah, they're two.
Like your three signs. Yeah. And so like we're going to be able to figure out like once we get to the end of the year what our like triome for Magic the Gathering is based upon our charts, which I think is cool. I don't do that, but I think that's kind of cool because I think I have Sagittarius something and it swamps. I'm like, we're already in a good place. We're already starting out great.
I want mine to be Orzhov. As long as I'm black-white, I'll be good. But I think I'm Aquarius, and I have no idea
Abzan
what Aquarius is.
Abzan or Mardu.
Ooh, Mardu's good.
Yeah. Mardu is great. Mardu might be my favorite color combination. I also really love Abzan, but I think I'm also just an Orzhov player when I think about it.
Yeah. Orzhov is the best color combination.
Death and Taxes, baby. Death and Taxes.
Wait, you don't like land destruction yet you play Death and Taxes?
Yeah, you could still play things. It just costs more.
But why not play both? Land destruction with taxes.
No, because I like having friends. I really do. Oh. I enjoy camaraderie.
Yeah, I cut that out a while ago.
Yeah, you have a podcast now.
Exactly. Fake friends, the best friends.
Hey, don't know. Everybody's your friend. We all like you.
No, I still have real friends. We just none of us play Magic. I guess a couple of them still play Magic, but none of us ever play with each other. We're all in like different states and stuff now, so it's a bit different.
Yeah, that's what happens. Like my old play group, like I used to shut down Caribou Coffees in like Minnesota with me and my homies. Just we'd play standard just like all night long. Like we'd all finish work by like 8 p.m. and then we'd just sit there, and we were homies with the people who worked at the coffee shop, and so they would let us stay there until like they finished closing at like 10:30 or 11 or whatever, which was awesome. Simpler times. Back when Restoration Angel and Thragtusk were in rotation.
No. I hated both those cards. Well,
That was great.
Resto Angel was cool, but Thragtusk was annoying.
I played Bant, Bant good stuff, like where I had Progenitor Mimic, Restoration Angel, and what was it was a creature card, I think it was legendary creature, where basically it would detain all the creatures when it came into play.
Deputy Detention?
It was like a 5-drop.
Oh. I was like,
I forgot.
Deputy Detention?
No, it wasn't that Detention Sphere either. But basically what would happen is I would basically the loop is like I would copy Restoration Angel with Progenitor Mimic, making multiple copies of that, and every turn I would blink the Detention Mage or whatever it was, and it would just stall out everybody, like the board state, and I would just be swinging in with copies of like Restoration Angel over the top or whatever. Rude. It was cool. I liked it.
Yeah.
And Jund was a big thing at the time too, so yeah. We really don't have Jund anymore, do we?
Yeah, Jund food in Historic is huge still.
Yeah, Jund food, but like I feel like we haven't had a Jund standard deck in a while because green is just so powerful that it's all Sultai. Now green and blue are just so powerful. It's just like, okay, and you add black and you get some cool Golgari creatures.
Yeah, I haven't played standard in a while.
I hate Koma.
You hate Koma?
I hate Koma.
I loved Koma a little bit for a while. When I went super meme crazy with it. So I put in
just like
it was bad. I had Koma in there. It was a really aggressive amount of ramp, and then I had Anointed Procession and Mythos of Luna. So I would copy my Anointed Procession, and then I would play Koma, and then at the beginning of the upkeep, I would make like 6 or 9 tokens. And then I would sack all of them and just tap all their lands. And I would do that every turn until I just killed them.
It's so mean. It's so mean. Why do you go for the lands? Why do you go for the legs?
Because it's funny.
Because it's funny. It is. But it's not funny to the others.
I know. Well, the thing is it's not. See, if it had a 80 or 90% win rate, it would probably not be as funny, right? And that's why counter spells aren't funny. They're just annoying because the win rate is really high. Obviously, it's not 80-90% high, but I mean, most of my good land destruction decks hit 70-75% win rate. But yeah, that's
still that's more than because 65 to 68% is like the target for climbing the ladder. So if you're hitting 75%, that's like kind of busted.
Yeah, those are the good ones. Those ones make me laugh.
I'm gonna have to start. I don't really do Historic, and I hear Historic has been really messed up ever since Alchemy came out. It's been pretty wonky.
I don't know who you're talking to, but they don't know what they're talking about.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Historic is fantastic. Historic has been in such a good spot for so long, for probably like a year and a half now. I see people complaining about Standard. Historic got into a bad spot because of all the Is It Drakes and Alrund's Epiphany, and then they nerfed Epiphany, and now we almost don't see it at all in Historic. And it's fantastic.
Epiphany is just so gross. Dude, before Alchemy came out, I was playing Standard, and I was just I never really played aggro. I was always a mid-range player, but I was just I was so tired of getting locked out by Alrund's. I was just I'm just running mono white now. I'm just gonna play mono white.
Oh, there was
go fast, swing hard.
There was one I saw. It was I want to say it was a mono black deck, but it was a mono black deck. It did play some treasures as well. Was it Deadly Dispute? There's one of them where you sack a creature and it makes a treasure.
And then Dockside Extortionist. No, that's the really expensive one.
But there's that 1 mana creature that when it dies it makes a treasure too. But
Ghast something.
Yeah, Shambling Ghast.
Crypt Ghast. Okay.
Is it Shambling?
Shambling Ghast. Yeah.
So
and then you have the 3-drop Orc card from Forgotten Realms, where you pay to sacrifice a creature or a treasure token, draw a card. I think.
Maybe.
That's another one.
Yeah. So I saw somebody play that, and then in sideboard they had 4 of the my god, what is that? It's the counter target spell, and then you can exile. It's instant or sorcery, and then exile all other spells with the same name in their library, graveyard, and hand. What is that called? Oh my gosh, it's 2 mana. It's a
2 mana. What color?
It's
black
blue.
or is it white? Blue.
It's 2 mana.
Oh, and
hold on, I will find it now.
In your deck, or
no, in the
your
mono
opponent's
black deck. So what they did is they would make a treasure. What is it? This is gonna drive me crazy now. Test of Talents. Test of Talents. So it was a mono black deck, and in sideboard they have 4 Test of Talents. So he was going up against an Epiphany deck. They cast Epiphany. He sacked his creature, made a treasure, and then Test of Talents the Epiphany in his mono black deck. The Epiphany player was like, "Oh, well, I guess I lose then." It was the best counterspell I've ever seen in my life. It's like, oh my god!
Search your controller's graveyard. So you counter your own spell?
No, he countered their spell. So he sacrificed his creature with Deadly Dispute to make a treasure. With the treasure, you can tap, sack it, and add blue.
And so then you have two treasures after that.
And then he just cast, and then he just countered it, and then it was over from there. It was beautiful. I've never seen mono black run.
That will tell you how gross Auron's Epiphany was. Where people were putting cards in their decks just
in
to
their
deal
mono
with that
black
one card.
deck. Yes, there were any counter spells in their mono black deck. Yes.
What was it? Just did they have it in their sideboard for best of 3?
Yeah. They had 4 in their sideboard for best of 3. It was 5-head. It was really funny, but it was obviously taking 4 slots in your 15 card sideboard is pretty brutal.
Yeah, but if you but all you gotta do is draw it once, and then you get to then you take out their win con.
Yeah.
And then you can deal with their Goldspan Dragon easily. Just by you're in black, you have removal.
Exactly, and then you still have
Infernal
counter
Grasp,
for their counter spells too, or their other removals.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting. It was interesting to see it. I don't know how well it did overall, but I know it did really well in at least one tournament.
Yeah. Have you played in any of the Arena Opens?
No, I don't compete anymore. I used to be really big into competitive Counter-Strike and Team Fortress 2, and then then I kind of cut back a little bit. And I was still doing a lot with League of Legends in like beta and season 1, or beta and then preseason and then season 1. But then I transitioned into commentating and casting for League of Legends, and then did that for a couple years, and then I probably took a break from almost all video games entirely for like 6 years.
Were you just like burnt out, or you just like I can't anymore?
I think I just had I don't know, maybe I don't even know if it was burnout. I think maybe I wanted to do other things, just like experience other things, I guess. I don't know, it was just I wanted to do other things. But yeah, now I came back. I started streaming. Now I'm doing YouTube 7 days a week, streaming 5 days a week, and doing the podcast once a week now, and then working my day job. So
that's a lot.
Yeah.
You're talking about me doing a lot. You're doing a lot.
I don't agree with this, but people have called me the hardest working MTG streamer, and I'm like, I don't agree. I look at people like you, and I'm like, I've seen people in bands and groups, and I know how difficult it is to write a song. That alone is a lot. I know what it's like to go to the gym. It just doesn't seem like work, really. Like you got to try and maintain the fun in it. And so like whenever I'm working on like an original, I'm like, it seems more fun, and then doing everything else. But the weird thing about doing everything else now, like with streaming and stuff like that, is that I feel like I get behind on like social media and like streaming and things like that when I am working on original music. But then I need to remember, it's like, no, that's the main thing. That's the main thing. All the other stuff is like the rest of it doesn't matter if I'm not completing tasks over here. Kind of. Not that they're tasks, but you know. So, you understand. I know exactly what you're saying. So do you, because when you go to your Twitch page, actually, let me verify before I say some stupid shit.
Oh my goodness, I haven't updated that
I'm gonna update that.
I just redid the banner and the profile photo.
The profile photos. Okay, so can I give you just like a tiny bit of criticism, just like a little bit? I'm just gonna send you a picture. I'm not even gonna actually say anything. I'll send you a picture, and then you'll be like,
no,
oh,
roast me.
Well, you can't see your banner.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Wait, so what's the point of this if they just put stuff on top of it?
You put stuff on either side of it. That's why, or on top of it, along the sides. That's usually what.
Yeah, because like because like I had that, like I did it and I previewed it. I'm like, yep, looks all good.
I did the same thing. I've seen it time and time again.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. I'm the worst at that stuff. Like I'm the worst at like updating my banners on YouTube, Twitch, profile photos. Like I'm not the best at it.
Yeah.
I'm like not the best at social media, which is like really unfortunate that it's like such a huge part of the industry now. Like I should be like, it's just like I personally don't get joy out of making TikToks. Like that's like not my thing. And I think I've kind of figured out like my way around doing social media stuff is like I need to not look at it seriously. Like I almost like need to treat it like a for lack of a better term, like a joke. Like it's like I just meme and I bullshit and like I like don't worry about, you know, XYZ or interactions or whatever. Don't worry about making impactful content. Just like it's just like I take a lot of cues from like other creators who I feel like resonate with me as far as they're like I'm not saying fuck social media because like it's obviously a huge part of our lives and businesses and stuff like that, and especially entertainment. But at the same time, there's a lot of us who are just like, oh, social media is definitely not the most important part of the thing that I do, but that you have the rest of the world telling you that it is. And so it's really hard to like figure out the balance or like how to approach it.
That is true.
From time to time.
Yeah.
So, but I'm trying to get better at it. Like I'm trying to make jokes and stuff and things. Like, but like some of the meta for music content is.
Does your stuff, because all your social media content is so completely different from each other. Like your YouTube stuff is a lot of your music, your Instagram stuff. Actually, I haven't even really looked at your Instagram stuff. Your Instagram stuff looks like it's a lot more personal.
Yeah.
And then, which is usually what Instagram is. And then Twitter,
Twitter is, I've tweeted poop, probably like just poop like 4 times this past year. So that should tell you what my Twitter is like.
Yeah, the Twitter just looks like a meme type thing. So basically what Twitter is.
Yeah.
And then Facebook, lol.
Facebook doesn't. I don't even focus on Facebook. Like I should because the ads, like the ad system that they have there on Facebook is like really really good, especially if you're able to like hone in on your on your target.
Yeah, especially if
audience.
If you're
like,
about
you
to go to that
numbers.
town for a show, you just target that town real hard for like 2-3 weeks before, and then. Yeah, that's like really good. It's an easy way to make a few sales.
So, yeah, exactly. So,
but yeah, I don't see your TikTok on here. I don't see like there's so many things you could do to make your about page better.
So TikTok has been really mean to me. Like last year, like in 2020, like back in the TikTok boom, like a few of my things really popped off, and I'm like, that was cool. And you know, and like I gained some followers, and it was nice, and like I was having like consistent.
Were you dancing?
And then people just stopped, and then like it just stopped putting my stuff in front of people at one point. And it's just like, and Reels is doing the opposite. The Reels numbers make more sense according to like my statistics and like my metrics and stuff. So it's just, but I'm still posting on TikTok because like you have to. But yeah, it's about to be way less serious on there. It's going to have big Twitter energy on TikTok pretty soon.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's there's some trickery going on in the social media space.
There
right
always
now.
is. Wait, so
Yeah.
is your gaming and MTG content only on Twitch?
I've been uploading clips to Reels and TikTok, but I don't upload anything to YouTube. As far as it goes, just because I just don't think I could handle having to like compile, edit, and like do all that stuff. I hate editing video. I would rather do so many other things than
hire
edit
an
video.
editor. That's what I did. There's no way.
Yeah, there's that option, but producing your own music is like so expensive, because you have like you got to pay, like if you don't want to edit your vocals, you got to pay someone to do that. You got to pay someone to mix. You got to pay someone to master. You have to pay someone to do your artwork. You have to pay somebody to shoot your music video and edit it. And it's just like you can do all this yourself. Like you could, but like
you're a crazy person.
There's so many skills involved and so many programs you have to learn. And there are some people who can do it, and I'm internally impressed by those people.
Yes.
But my brain can't handle it, because I did do that grind where I was editing my own music videos and I was doing a lot of stuff on my own, and it was probably like one of the not the most depressed I've been in my life, but it's definitely led me into like a depressive state for a while, and I definitely had and it led to burnout, and so I had to just like stop.
Yeah.
Because it was just because I found myself spending so much time editing and working on stuff, and then working a separate part-time day job at the time, where I just didn't have time to like do anything for me or see any of my friends. And so it's been figuring out that balance and figuring out what's possible has been really, really interesting. And like I'm still learning about myself and my process and stuff like that, and how to make things work out and for me mentally, and just like because like if you're like when you're depressed, like you can't write new music, like you don't feel like doing anything. So
and I don't think a lot of people understand what real depression is, unfortunately. And it's extremely hard to explain to people if they haven't either experienced it firsthand or haven't been exposed to it to almost like an extreme level with other people. I
would say that like the closest you can get to explaining to somebody is like imagine like being in bed sick with the flu. You can't get up, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
But you don't feel bad. Like you don't physically feel bad. You just can't get up, you can't do anything. And like that's what it feels like. And like you beat yourself up because you're not doing anything, you're not being productive, but that also just worsens the cycle and sends you farther down the spiral.
Exactly. And then you think you're a burden on your friends because your friends ask you to go out and you're like, I can't go out right now. And then you feel like you do it all the time, and then you don't want to talk to your friends anymore because you don't want to make them feel like you're letting them down, and blah blah, and it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It's a fucking problem.
And so like you gotta, but that's the thing is like you need like, and like a lot of it you can avoid. You have to listen to yourself, and like you have to follow that voice in your head sometimes that says, I would rather be doing this thing. Like it's like you should be working, but it's just like, oh, I would rather go do this with somebody, or I would rather watch X show or read book or play video game. Like I don't know, like, but you got to do that because if you constantly put yourself into this grind culture like head state, like headspace and state of mind, you eventually will just like find yourself not being able to do anything, and it will take all of your effort just to go through your day and do the things that you do have to do, and that's not fun to do. So take care of yourself and your brain, and be nice to yourself, and like I don't know, realize that like it's if you're feeling a type of way, it's probably because you need to be kind to yourself more than likely.
Yeah, that's definitely it's deep shit. Yeah it's hard.
It's
feelings,
and especially
feelings are a thing.
It's getting harder to do because there's so, for lack of a better like way to name it, there's so much content, and there's so many people outputting so much content, and there's so much pressure to do more things and do more stuff, where it can be overwhelming, where it's just like, you think of, like, there are plenty of musicians who are putting out, like, you know, X songs per month, or there's plenty of content creators who are putting out X content per month, videos, whatever, streams, doing X, Y, Z, and you sometimes feel the pressure to meet that expectation that you've set for yourself by watching these other people, when really you just need to meet the expectations and goals that you have for yourself and work at your own pace and stay in your lane.
Oh, but yeah. So that actually brings me back to something you referenced earlier about how you kind of almost look at age as I don't want to say arbitrary thing, because that could go into weird implications that we don't want to go into, but
fair. I wasn't even thinking about that. Good
I know,
catch.
yeah,
Good
we're not
catch.
going to go into that part, but for me personally, I never really knew like what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be or anything like that. I didn't have like a real direction in life. Like I knew kind of generally what I wanted to do, but I never put myself in that situation to where I could actually start doing it. I never did that until it was probably about 3 years ago now. And ever since that happened, that's when, I don't know, I've never had depression. I've never been diagnosed with any of that stuff, but I never realized what true happiness was until that moment, until I knew like the person I was going to be. And that to me was when I was actually born. If that makes sense. Because like before that, I was just like, a waste of space. I just existed in this world.
Just going through the motions.
I just existed. Like, if you think about it, your first 16 years of your life, you're not doing anything. You're learning things.
They're predetermined for you.
Yeah, you're not doing anything. That's not life. You're not 16 years old. You're zero. Like, so when I was 31, that's basically when I was born. So I'm like 3 years old right now. I'm not very old. I feel like I'm loving life finally for the first time, even though, again, I was never really depressed, but I never knew real happiness until about 3 years ago. And that's like a completely different feeling. And I don't know, it's so bizarre to have that weird switch just happen.
Yeah. And like, good, like, congrats, like, genuinely first, because like a lot of people like don't really like get to that point. And like, you know, some people are still trying to get to that point. And the fact that like I feel like it's a rare thing because like you said, like, you know, you're not really doing anything until you're like 16 because you're just going through the motions. And some people still just go through the motions until they're in their 30s. Like I have friends who are following this game plan that has been set up by society, and these expectations have been set for them by like themselves because other people have told them that that's what they should be doing at a certain age. And they are not they're not like they're just like they're not doing it for them. They're doing it because they were told to. And as soon as you can like kind of switch, and I feel like the age thing is a huge part of that, because it's like, oh, like you're probably the same as me. It's like growing up, it's like, okay, cool. You go to high school, you graduate, you go to college, you get engaged, you find a job, you get married, you have kids, you buy a house. Like it's like it's been all set out for you, like what you should do with your life. But like we're in this weird space now with the abundance of information and stuff like that, and like, you know, you have the statistics of like, you know, having a kid at 25, and like, you know, like the housing market is the way it is, and a bunch of other and like so many different things are happening. And so it really puts a spotlight on what we as individuals can control and do, and what makes us happy and what brings us joy. And once you kind of kick to the curb the whole like expectations by a certain age thing, the world of possibilities opens up to you. Like it takes so much pressure off of you as a creator and as an artist, because you obviously there's always going to be someone who's younger and better than you.
Always.
That's just how it's going to work. Like, but if you remove that age thing, you're able to look at these people who are younger than you coming up and making great new content or music or art or whatever, and you're able to look at what they're doing and go, damn, that's cool as shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use some of those ideas. Like, instead of getting bummed out about it, where it's like, oh, the kid Leroy is signed to like Warner Chappell. I don't know who he's signed to. And like, and I'm not, and like, I'm running out of time. Like, we're so beyond that. Like, look at like the Foo Fighters. The Foo Fighters are the biggest rock band in the world, and they're what, in their 50s?
They have to be really old now.
Insane.
Yeah,
dude, they're making a movie.
That's ridiculous.
On this new record, surrounded around this record. It's insane.
Yeah, it's actually kind of weird. It blows my. One of the things that I actually really thought about the same exact concept was, I know a lot of people don't like him, but Skrillex, he was really good at that whole thing too.
I think you mean Sonny Moore from First to Last.
Sorry, from First to Last. Yes, I apologize. Excuse me. Let me get my monocle and my. I forgot it.
Jot that down.
But he was able to come out and make a sound that was kind of underdeveloped, that not a lot of people liked, and kind of made it explode. But then also network with a bunch of people outside of his genre and released an album where he was just collabing with different people of different genres in every single song, just like bridging people together, because he knows, hey, that's a really interesting sound, you have a really interesting feeling, I want to incorporate it into my music. And it had nothing to do with, oh, there's this barrier of entry, or hey, I'm gatekeeping you out of my genre of music. He was genuinely going out, seeking these people, being like, hey, I really want to work with you because I really like the stuff that you do. And I have these ideas. And him going, like, regardless of what you think about him or not, because a lot of people hate him for whatever reason. But that to me, I think, is really powerful when you're taking somebody who's prominent in one area, going out of their way to go to other areas and either lift people up. Like he went to Korea and got CL and Dragon, G-Dragon? G-Dragon, yeah. And he put them on a song, and that was fucking fire. And it was it was interesting to see all of that, and then also see the backlash of people hating it from all of their communities. Like, not the Skrillex community necessarily, even though a lot of people hated that, but a lot of people from the other camps hated it.
Oh, like from the K-pop communities did not like that. They did that?
And well,
That's
the
so
K-pop
weird.
communities, I think, were a lot more receptive to it. But let's see, Justin Bieber, I don't think their friends really liked it. I don't think his friends, I don't think his fans liked it at all. But he was just all over the place, and I thought that was really, really cool. And I like to see that more with Twitch as well, when you see the really, really, really big streamers start to collab more with other streamers and other either gaming directories or doing completely different things. And that's where you get people like the Offline TV. That's where you get people like OTK, all those things.
Dude, I can't believe Offline blew up as big as it did. I remember when it first started, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I watched like a couple episodes, but then like, me being me, I'm like, I don't have time to dedicate, time to this YouTube channel. I already watch Philip DeFranco every single day, and I have Critical Role. I don't have time for this as well. Yeah. And but like, that blew up, and like, I never thought it was a bad idea by any means, but I didn't see that happening. Like, I didn't see them getting as big as they did, and like, good on them, good on whoever was producing that show, whoever's idea it was, just top tier, 5
and then each individual streamer and content creator within that organization is just phenomenal. And they're just able to bring the weirdest people together, and it just works because they all just get along outside of their own content creation thing, and they just get together and be like, hey, you want to do this project? Like Michael Reeves, he's like, hey, let me tase you. And
it's Jackass now.
And Toast is like, why? He's like, because I made a robot. Okay, sounds cool. You're like, what is this? This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But
isn't 100 Thieves like kind of another thing like that?
Yes,
too?
I think they're the only successful. They're different because they're a gaming company more than or a gaming organization. They specify more on gaming than content creation, but I think they're the only successful gaming company out there, like on the planet, from what I recall.
More so than like FaZe Clan.
Oh, maybe it's FaZe. Maybe it's FaZe. It's one of those two. One of those two are the only successful ones that are actually making money, because everyone else in the esports boom are basically just losing money every single time. Everything they do, all the people they're signing on for like millions of dollars, they're just losing money hand over fist. They've just been doing it the whole time. No, it's bad. It was like an esports bubble that never actually grew.
Yeah, it's like it was like I mean, I think it was just a bunch of tech people who were just like saw like, oh, this is the next big thing. Let's dump money into it. And then like you had that artificial bubble because it's like, oh, there's money going into this, and then I think it just like the viewership and participation from the fans and crowds just wasn't there to like move it forward. But obviously like it's working out for some people. And I feel like for all of these companies that have worked, it's been because of the personalities that they've chosen, and there's been content creation that has gone along with those personalities to help just like it just feeds the machine. Like you have all these streamers doing like offline TV, you have all these streamers who have their individual streams to do their individual stuff, but then you also have them living in a house together making these videos, which then feeds back into their stream, and the streams feeds into the videos. And it's just this like circular thing that just keeps going. And that's why there's this like you have like I didn't watch it, but like Hype House, like where it's on Netflix about all the TikTokers making TikToks together and stuff like that. Like you got that going.
I've not seen that. I haven't been too much into TikTok. I remember Musically, there was a guy I worked with that was really big in Musically. And he traveled to a few places with a bunch of other Musically people, rented houses and just shot videos and stuff, and he got like sponsorships. But that's pretty much the extent of that stuff that I know. It seems pretty similar to streaming.
Pretty much the same thing.
But they didn't like live together.
But like it happens with music all too. Like, you know, when you put yourself in a situation with people who are doing the same thing or similar to you creatively, it inspires you to work on your own craft and do more for yourself. Like when I first moved to LA, I was living with two other musicians, and like every time that I've lived with musicians is when I've written the most and the best music. Because you're just surrounded by it, and it's just awesome. And so I imagine the same thing happens for streamers and other content creators and stuff like that.
That is definitely possible, because content will just come out organically. I can see that more with streamers because almost their entire life is on camera at that point. I don't know how it translates to music per se. I would think there might be a little bit more animosity or jealousy based on, like, if you were in a house with two other musicians and then like your music blew up, and then if you like didn't take them on tour or something with you, would that be like a big problem?
I've seen a similar situation, and usually what happens is that those friendships will deteriorate.
Which it seems to happen
because of
streaming
that
too a lot.
Yeah, well, what it is just like, you know, it's like y'all have been working together, been friends, you know, giving feedback and stuff like that, and then somebody does really well for themselves, and then you know, there's very obviously opportunities for these people that have helped them and motivated them along the way. And then not that something you should be expecting,
never
because,
expect
you know,
anything
you should
ever.
constantly be working on yourself and not. But there is that where it's like there, but you could also like communicate that, like, you know, you could talk to people about it, be like, hey man, like you're like, you know, don't like rub it in their face, but just like ask, don't be afraid to ask for help in any situation, because you always have a no in your pocket until you ask. And so it's just, I don't know, just like when you're collabing, when you're in an environment like that, it's super awesome. And like obviously people will get more successful and stuff like that. But as far as like the people that I've been friends with in the music industry, nobody gatekeeps their success or their help or their knowledge, because it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, I can give you all my tools, but that doesn't mean you can work with them, or the work you'll do with my tools will work for you.
Exactly. And I learned that whole
lot...
concept from someone named Gary Vaynerchuk, which I have no idea if you know who that is, but he's like a...
Is that Gary V?
Gary V. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He's like, I'll put all my stuff out there for free because I know none of you will take it. Like, it's so true.
And there's something to be said there. Like, it's, you can give someone all the knowledge and all the tools, but if they don't execute it, then it's just like gonna work. Like, one of my faults is like, I have a friend he's very good at social media marketing and has given me ideas and stuff like that, and I just haven't executed on it. You can give people all the tools in the world, but they just won't. Like, if they don't use it, they don't use it.
That's so weird. Yeah, the whole thing about just like asking people for, I mean, it works. Obviously, you want to be able to offer things before ever asking for them. That's like you want to be able to provide value. You don't want to just like ask people, hey, can you give me like $100,000? You want to do that?
Don't ask for money.
Don't
ask for money. Don't do that.
Definitely don't do that. But like the whole thing with just doing, this podcast, I know you were nice enough to even come on the podcast or even reply to my DMs, which I am grateful for.
I mean, you were nice enough to even ask.
Well, this is gonna sound stupid because you're like probably more popular than me in different genres, or in the world objectively you're probably more famous than me, but I saw some clips of you because I go through all the clips in the MTG directory every single week. So we're talking 1,000 to 1,200 clips every week, which it's a lot. But
that's a lot of watching.
Yes, it takes about 8 hours, 10 hours depending. And then you have to rank them for the videos and stuff like that. But so I've reached out to about 250 different content creators, just to get either their permission to use their videos or to talk with them about whatever. And there has been like less than 10 people who have said they don't want to associate with me, that type of thing. So that's a pretty good ratio, I would say.
That's a very good ratio.
Pretty good ratio. And this whole time I thought people hated me, because I'm not I'm not the nicest person, but I'm not like a mean person. I punch back, I don't punch down. So there's definitely a difference there.
Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day. I was just like if you're not punching up, you shouldn't be punching at all.
Yeah.
It's kind of
I don't punch at all until somebody punches at me. And then I punch back. But I'm always just looking at all these clips every single week. I'm able to find all these, what I would call diamonds in the rough. I found so many content creators, and I'm like, hey, I like your stuff, but nobody's watching you. And it's not because necessarily of you. It's because there's no visibility on Twitch. There's no algorithm that helps you. So it just doesn't exist on Twitch. And then you
have to do it through other social medias to try and get people to. That's like,
but your other social medias
get people from Twitch to Instagram. It's the other way around. Instagram to Twitch, or like Twitter to Twitch.
But your other social medias aren't really Magic oriented or Twitch oriented, so you're almost driving people away from Twitch to your other platforms and not vice versa. So that's a very interesting thing for me, and I never. I haven't talked with anyone or tried to help anybody to grow bigger by like usually I'm like, start a Twitter, be more active on Twitter and funnel people over. But I've never, you have a more established viewership on all these other platforms, but you're not bringing them in. And I'm like, it's odd to me. And I don't know how you tackle that or what your goals are for your Twitch channel overall.
My goals for I haven't, so I started doing Twitch without like any type of real plan. And like I guess the only plan is like I do want to like once I get my setup taken care of as far as like equipment and stuff goes, I do want to start doing more music streams, because then sitting in the music category sends people over to my music. But that's kind of always been like the thing is like, oh, I want to send people to my music kind of a thing. And magic is just something I love to play. So it's that's the reason I do magic, but it's just kind of turned into this thing now that's a little bit more than what I was expecting. And so I kind of have to look at it and go, oh wait, what am I going to do with this now? And which is why like one of the things was like, oh cool, I'm going to start playing Commander on like other people's streams and stuff like that. And then
whose streams have you gone on to play Commander?
More. I've been on Command Sphere and Lewis Stardust.
Oh, okay.
Are the two. And then I'm slated to be on Mental Misplays coming up in February. So like I'm trying to do more of that. I'm trying to get more, and I keep missing signups because like people are just like, yeah, I've got all of like ready for March's sign up. I was like, yo, March is 2 months away. I don't know if I'll be alive then. You want me to commit to a game of Commander?
Yeah. Have you talked with anyone within Team Degen at all?
No, I have not. I have not had any interaction with them.
They're a new gaming organization, kind of a gaming organization. They are a gaming organization, but it seems like they primarily focus on Magic right now. But they have a bunch of big people. Like they have Ali Eldrazi, they have CGB or Covert Go Blue.
Oh, nice.
MTG Nerd Girl owns it. She's like ridiculously entrepreneur. Like she's hardworking, like you are. Like she's just all over the place.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are on there.
Yeah, I saw their tokens.
Yeah.
Their CGBs and their tokens. Yeah. That was a really cool thing. There isn't any more. They sold out. So good for them.
Yeah. So they're doing it. They actually are cycling through the different content creators of who gets their tokens. So if you sign on, and they're getting content creators from everywhere from, CGB's level down to people who are, probably around your level, the 10 to 20 to 30 to 50 average viewers, all that. So, nice. But they do Commander games all the time. They're always looking for people. So,
yeah. Something like that is exactly like kind of like where I was going, because I'm like, Twitch has just kind of become a viable thing now a little bit, especially like in the last 2 years, because obviously there was a huge boom for Twitch during the pandemic because everybody was streaming, and then now it's kind of like tapered off because people have moved back into what they were doing. But I've just like stayed persistent, and like I've seen growth on my channel, which is great, and I love it. And like the community that I have is wonderful, super nice. Some of the softest beings you'll ever meet, and I'm just like now exploring like, oh, this is a viable thing for me. I can like, what can I do to progress this? And so I'm actually looking forward to like playing on other people's streams and not streaming on my channel. Because I feel like it's like there's a certain amount of separation there where it's like, oh, I just get to sit and play Commander. This is great. Like I don't have to sit and talk with chat. Not like it, but like, because that's hard for me to do. Is like if I'm playing Commander on my stream, talking with chat while talking to three other people while looking at board states. Much.
The thing for me, if I were to watch Commander, because I cannot watch Commander on stream. Because of that exact reason. You can't play Commander and talk with chat at the same time. And I don't go to big streams for that same exact reason, because when I go to a stream, I want to interact with somebody, usually the actual streamer. I don't want to, if I want to just watch somebody do something, I just go to YouTube or do it, if I want to,
or go watch Pokemon or Disguise Test or something.
Well, I don't even go over there because I don't want that kind of interaction. I'll just watch their highlights or their best moments edited down on their YouTube channel. So if I wanted to watch them, that's what I would do. And so I can't, it's really, I mean, first of all, it's really difficult for me to watch any type of recorded Magic content in general, unless they're unless something really, really special about it. But If it was a Commander show, if somebody was doing Commander, and then there was a host, somebody who either wasn't playing or was super actively,
like they talked about it, commentated on it,
very aggressively commentating based on what people were playing, what was going on, and then also talking with chat. So they probably wouldn't even be playing at all, but yeah, they would be more involved with what was going on. They could actually switch the cameras and be like, okay, this person's playing. It focuses only on their board instead of the only board state for like a little bit. Obviously, just always switching would be bad because people are, in response, and you want to see what's going on in other people's boards too. But, there are definitely some production value things that could be increased. Or could be worked on with Commander stuff, and it's just unfortunate that it hasn't been perfected yet.
But you also have, you are right, like that is one way that would definitely enhance the experience for the viewers, but there's also something to be said about going to a channel because there are these 4 interesting people playing Magic, and their interactions are entertaining, and it's fun to watch them interact with 100%. Each other. Which is what I like doing. Like I like having the interaction, but the reason I don't like to necessarily stream it on my channel all the time is because I feel bad. I feel like I'm ignoring people who are supporting me and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's why I think that's usually better on YouTube, because that's why I watch it on YouTube, because YouTube post production you can do all that stuff, and that's why game nights is usually really good. And
I mean, their production is insane.
They have an entire team.
It's busted.
That's just ridiculous. You can't even compare that. That's ridiculous. But there's a couple other channels that I can't even remember. There's, oh my gosh, what is?
I hate your deck.
There you go. They do pretty good, but I like the banter that they have with all their guests. They're just messing around all the time.
Theirs is centered around the interaction between the players and the commentary. And that's where, but their 2 hosts are just phenomenal. They're just so personable. Like even Lynch, like he strikes me as like a more quiet person, but when he chimes in, it's just like so witty and so good.
Yeah, it's perfect chemistry.
That's
great.
It's a good channel.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and back to what you're saying about driving traffic over to doing it in reverse. Yeah, I've been kind of doing it in reverse a little bit, and I don't know. I don't think I think it's an okay thing because it's like, I'm Boy Hero. I'm a musician. I do music. This is what I do. But on Twitch, I am still Boy Hero, but I'm playing Magic, and I'm just Magic. So it's almost like there's 2 different versions of it. And obviously I post when I'm going live on my social medias and stuff like that. But it's like I kind of want to keep them separate a little bit because, like I was saying earlier, is like that's kind of like my escape. It's like my me time. It's like it's just different than being over here and doing music. But I do have to say that I do attribute a lot of like my new viewership and like I would say growth to do you know Talia?
Talia's tight.
Yeah, I was hanging out with her a couple of months ago, and she was like talking about me and myself on my channel, and one of the things she said to me, she was like, yeah, you just kind of seem reserved when you're streaming, like you're holding back like your personality. And she absolutely was right that I did do that. And so now I'm just like, I just have kind of like let it go, because like the fear of that has always been like, oh, I'm gonna slip up and say something that's going to offend somebody that is going to get me canceled or something like that. But then you got to think about people like, he's like, yo, you got fucking Dr. Disrespected and like PewDiePie and people who have slipped up and said horrible things and have done horrible things, and people still come back to watch them. So like, you know, while like people do need to be held like accountable for their actions and what they say, at the same time, it's like you've got that stuff happening at such a massive scale, like, and you have people saying things that aren't even in my vernacular.
Exactly.
Like, so like, what am I worried about? Like, yeah, I might get a little agitated at a viewer because they said something, but they still said something. So I don't know.
Hey, if you clap at a viewer, clip it and then I'll use it. It's perfect. I use that stuff all the time.
I did a while ago. I forgot what I said. Oh, I remember. I'm not going to put them on blast because I do like them. They're just having a bad day, and I just called them out on their shit.
Well, that's not bad.
You know, and so yeah, it wasn't bad, but it was just a case where we're just like, hey, you need to check yourself. I was a little bit more strict with my words and direct, but it
well,
happen.
I mean, every once in a while, if someone's being ridiculous, like I've had. I also don't want to call people out because these people are actually like subscribers in my channel and they have been for a while, but they made some. I mean,
it just goes. They're people. Yeah. They're actual people. Like,
exactly.
You
have to empathize with these
human
people.
beings. They're not just usernames.
But you also have to understand that if they talk about someone else who is also a person, you have to make them aware that, hey, who you're talking about is also a person. But if you want to talk to them that way, I can talk to you the same way. I have no problem calling you a dipshit inbred fuck if you want to be like that. But you're not going to get canceled for that, you know? Well, I mean, you might. I don't know what kind of image you have, but
I don't know what kind of image I have, honestly.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the problem I have with you right now is that nobody knows who you are in the Magic community, as far as who I associate with. And that's the problem I have with you right now, because people should know you, because you are entertaining, you have the charisma, and you clearly enjoy the game. Because it's not even like you're just playing and being like, bro, like you're not boring. You're fun to watch.
Yeah.
You're charismatic. You have that camera presence. It's that you have all the stuff that's there, which people just don't know you yet. That's the problem that I have.
Thanks.
And so that's
the nicest thing I've heard this week. Granted, it's only Monday.
Starting off on top. Hey, if you start off on top, you only have to stay on top.
It's probably downhill from here, to be honest.
Staying there. If it's me, I'm staying there.
Well, no, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I'm still figuring out myself and who I am. Like, you know, I have an identity crisis, you know, once a week, trying to figure out, it's like, ooh, what's my brand? Who am I? But then, you know, I reflect back on that piece of advice Talia gave me. It's like, yo, just be yourself.
Yeah, that's the
like,
easiest thing to do.
You don't need to try and emulate somebody. You don't need to hold yourself back. Just like, you need to just be unashamed of who you are and present it. And that's carried me through like the last like 4 months with like my Twitch streaming, my content, my music and stuff like that, because that advice translates into making music. Like, being honest with yourself and what you're thinking and what you want to say, and like it's music and it's art, and like, yeah, sometimes the things you say are extreme or hurtful, but like it's because like you're a passionate person, or because someone else has hurt you, like, you know, and it's art. It's supposed to be real, raw, and unabashedly yourself. And you know, just don't jump off of scaffoldings into the crowd. That's all you gotta do.
Just don't injure people. You'll be fine. Like, for the most part, if you follow Twitch terms of service, you're perfectly fine. You can
get away with a lot. You can get away with
everything. You'll be fine. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing I can do is at least try to platform you as much as I can and expose people. So I mean, I don't have the biggest platform. People know of me, but a lot of people don't agree with my content because they're not. I play best of one historic. A lot of people don't play best of one. A lot of people don't play historic. So my niche is very, very small as far as people who watch me for my gameplay.
You're basically playing modern.
Yeah, if that. A lot more people watch modern now because Aspiring Spike went fucking crazy. He blew up.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, outside of that, I mean, I'll try to get your name out there as much as I can. But obviously the work comes down on you, as you already know. And it's not going to be difficult.
I'm going to be here. I'm going to be doing this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even worried about it. I'm just trying to do the little bit that I can, because I think you have earned it. You've obviously earned it, and you also deserve it. So it's just a matter of getting you out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, you know, there's some things that I've had friends say in the past, and like Alika, which was one of the first people I met when I moved to LA, which was, he said, always say yes. Just like, you know, to opportunities, just always say yes.
It helps.
because it's either going to work out or it's not going to work out, and you don't know if it's going to work out unless you say yes. So that's obviously don't say yes to like meth.
Yes,
or heroin.
Correct. Even though a lot of people do that in the larger industries,
you
don't necessarily.
It's
like
just there's some things you shouldn't say yes to.
Yeah, that's a different topic, because that also gets into the bigger business. I don't know how much of the bigger part of the music industry is like that, but I know a lot of people in the bigger business, it's like if they're doing drugs and you're not, they probably don't include you in a lot of things. But
I mean, that happens at all levels of society, like even from normie, for lack of a better term, normie friends to people you work with.
Don't trust you as much for some reason.
It's just a thing. But we could talk about it a little bit. But at least when it comes to opportunity, just say yes.
Opportunities,
because say yes to opportunity. When it comes to knocking, don't be scared. And one of the things that I've learned this last year is if something makes you nervous or scares you a little bit, it might be a good thing for you to do.
Because being scared is usually a good thing. Because a lot of times scare and excite are one and the same.
It's sometimes hard to tell the difference between the two. It's whether you're excited, nervous, or scared. It's those three are usually the same. And usually fear is a byproduct of being excited.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
We've been going for 2.5 hours.
Yes, I have to get back to work, actually. So
I need to eat. I haven't done that yet today.
All right. Well, yes, thank you for the this lasted way longer than I anticipated, but I have no problems with that. So I do appreciate the time. I really do.
Yeah, thank you I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. It felt like for someone who I'm speaking with in person, air quotes, for the first time. I feel like we're friends.
It was a blast. I liked it.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure getting to know you and talking, and didn't know we had so many things in common. So I'm excited.
I was very surprised. Let me know what you think about Dorohedoro for sure. I'm gonna hold you to that.
Okay, yeah, I'll pick up the first volume and check it out, because you said reading it is better.
Yes, because it gets more into it, and the artwork is ridiculous. So it's like a completely different thing. It's very raw and sketchy, if that makes sense. It's dingy, and I don't know. You look up a couple pictures. You read the first chapter, not even the first volume. You look at the first chapter, and you'll be okay. I like this anime. I think this is the best manga I've ever seen in my life. All
right, cool. I'll definitely do that. I've heard the same thing about Berserk too, so I've got 2 of those that I need to get on.
I never recommend Berserk to anybody, even though it's my favorite manga of all time. I never recommended it to anybody unless they're actually into horror stuff, because it's really fucked up, and it can fuck with people, and I don't think people understand that, because I think a lot of people that have recommended Berserk have only watched the anime, and the anime can be messed up, but the manga is the imagery that's in the manga,
there's no guidelines. It's whatever goes when it comes to manga.
Do you know anything about the story at all?
I know the main character's name is Guts, and that's about it. I know it's super gory.
So his name was Guts because he was found under a tree. He was birthed by his dead mom, who was hung from a tree. And so he was just in a pool of blood, and then he was found by a mentally deficient girl that was part of a mercenary group. And then that was how he was born. So have that imagery.
Well, now I want to watch it now, because that sounds more interesting.
It's it's so brutal, and it's so mind fuckery that you just I don't know. I can't recommend it to people. So, but if you like it, then yes, definitely.
I'll give it a go.
But yeah, let everyone know how to find you one more time.
Yeah, iamboyhero on all social media and Twitch, and you can find my music on Spotify, the Give Heart Records channel, But if you want to support, I have a merch store where you can pick up a physical copy of my most recent EP, Recall, and that's just iamboyhero.com. So, and then you can also get a shirt like this that I'm wearing. Yes, I am shamelessly promoting myself.
If you're listening, you won't be able to see what that shirt looks like, but all the links and stuff will be down below and all that other stuff. So if you're on YouTube, it'll be in the description. If you're anywhere else on any other podcast platform, it'll be in the description. So you'll see it. You'll see all of it.
Strider, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. We'll have to do it again sometime for sure.
Absolutely. We'll do it in like 6 months to a year. little
all right, yeah, sounds good. Thank you all so much for watching to the very end. I do appreciate it. It helps the channel grow, especially since it's a new one. So please share it with anybody who you think might be interested. Hit that subscribe button, bell notification, and leave a comment.